So I feel for artistic, curious, intelligent people. It is a struggle. And all I can tell you is that at the end of the day, until you live authentically, you can't be an emotional healthy person. Those voices need to be heard.
That last line is power. All right, everybody, welcome to episode number 31. Zach, very, very special guest on this pod, one I have wanted to get for the last 30 episodes, but we are finally making it happen because, as y'all can see, we are taking this pod very, very seriously. We are churning them out one a week, Monday nights at 8. Worst case scenario, Tuesday nights at 8, but we try to keep to the Monday nights. That being said, Zach, how you doing?
Fantastic.
Zach is doing fantastic. Okay, drum roll. We have with us the one, the only, Leah Forster.
Hello, hello.
Leah, how are you?
I'm doing really well. Super excited to be here. What you guys did not see was that we did a lot of schmoozing before this podcast even started rolling. So we're ready for you.
Yes, and I told Leah very clearly, like, we have to stop talking right now and we have to come sit down on the pod and record because
Too much good content.
So we already have to sit down and record. Leah, if you don't mind, can you move a little bit closer to the mic or bring the mic a little closer to you?
I got you.
Awesome. Okay, fine. So I want to just jump right into things because that's the way we do things here. We don't want people to get bored. So I want to just jump right into content. Leah, in your own words, you have 80,000 followers on Instagram. Can you share with us... Kanai Can you share with us, in your own perspective, who you are, what you do, and how you amassed 80,000 followers?
All right, so I'll give you the brief synopsis, the cliff notes. My name is Leah Forster. I come from the ultra-Orthodox Hasidic community, born in Williamsburg, raised in Borough Park, got married at a very young age, was a frum female comedian, which means that I performed for religious women only. I had thousands and thousands of people at my sold-out shows. I was teaching in 3 very, very religious high schools. I decided to make some changes in my life. I did have a husband and a child, and obviously the community that I came from did not view my changes, in a way that I understood at the time was kind, and that created some scandal. But I was already famous in my community, sold a lot of DVDs, music. Also, in our community, there was no internet, so everything was, only available when you walked into a Jewish music store and paid $20 for a DVD or a CD. I left. I made some changes in my life, and I decided to pursue comedy again because that's what I was doing. And then I had another little scandal with a restaurant that sort of kicked me out for, parts of my personality or my character. And that, again, amassed me a bunch of followers. And so here I am. So, obviously at this point, those tragedies are things that I turned into comedies. And here we is out in these streets.
Wow. Okay. So there's obviously a lot there that you just shared. So I want to try to take it one thing at a time.
Oof.
First of all, how old were you when you got married?
19, I think.
You were 19. And you grew up Hasidish?
Hasidish. My father wears a shtreimel, spoke Yiddish mainly in the house. I went to Klosenberg until I was in first grade, which is a really Hasidish school. I covered my knees and my elbows from a very young age. We had no access to the internet or English or secular music or entertainment. So everything that I discovered was either things that I was like sneaking home or sneaking out to do, like going to, the library or like an internet cafe, very, very bad. And oh God, when I Googled like girls who like girls, sorry, audience, and the things that popped up, I was like, no, I don't want that.
It's funny because I've also searched for that.
Yeah, I hear that.
Thank you for being every man. We appreciate you.
Yeah.
On behalf of the
every
offended
man.
women, we are offended by that. We're so much more than what you are subjecting us to.
So hold on. You mentioned in the beginning of your statement that you had to actually sell the DVDs in store and you had no internet access. When you were, again, you were putting out CDs for your music?
in the religious community, I was putting out comedy albums, but I also sing. So I was composing funny songs and putting them out there. I even put out music videos. Like in my community, I was the only religious female comedian.
Got it. And this was during when you were selling this was during the internet era already? Because the internet started.
It was just starting. Like my label was mostly music, which is Aderet. They produce like all the big names in the Jewish community. And I was putting out a bunch of comedy themed albums. And then I even did a series, like a video series. So there was no internet access. Later on, as my career took off, they put up their own version of a Netflix, which was like a membership that you pay to this music label. And then they would produce all this like Jewish entertainment. Now, Jewish entertainment is popping.
Yeah.
You know?
So you were able to, at this time, you were able to technically put this stuff on the internet, but being that you were in a Hasidic community, they didn't allow you to.
It's not that I was able to. There was no demand for it.
Got it.
From people weren't on the internet. They were, watching DVDs in their homes.
Yeah.
Internet became famous later for entertainment. It used to be, people were using it for business and for, a bit of socializing, but Jewish entertainment was not available at your fingertips.
Right.
You had to actually physically go and buy tickets to see my show. I would sell out theaters with like 2,500 people.
And wait, I want to clarify, you're talking about selling out theaters early in your career while from audiences. Like 2,000 from women.
How long ago was this?
You want to hear how funny this is? That I would have like, my wig and my skirt and I would perform. And then when I was done, I would take off my wig, pull off my skirt, have a pair of jeans underneath, and then go let off some steam and dance at a lesbian club.
Crazy.
And it was such a disassociation. It's the only way I survived by living
it's a huge
two separate
dichotomy.
lives.
You're literally living two lives.
And I would dance and my mind would start wondering to like, I have to teach tomorrow morning a class of like 30 from girls who, if they would know that I'm out doing this now, I can lose my job. I can lose everything. I can lose my family. And eventually what happened is that fear became so great. And I didn't want to live in a world where I was, able to lose everything in 30 seconds or less, that I just made decisions to slowly start living a more authentic life.
That's a crazy amount of pressure.
Yeah, that's anxiety that is incomprehensible. I feel.
Yeah. But today, by the way, if you look around at our community, yes, we have evolved a lot where it's much more acceptable today to like hang out with your friends after work and go for a drink. Like that's what people in corporate do. But when I was growing up, that was who goes out to a bar? Goyim. Like, Was that way also in the Litvish community or just in the Hasidic community? Oh, I think the Litvish was even more intense.
I think, yeah.
You couldn't go to a bar?
No way.
The only time it was like acceptable to go to bars in the Litvish world that I grew up in, I didn't grow up with the most intense right wing, but like dates. Like you could take a girl to a bar on a date.
Like a hotel lobby.
Lounge. No, you go to a lounge.
No, you could go to like a lounge. No, you could go to a bar, but like
it was for the purpose of a shit.
Literally it's for the purpose of a shit.
Okay, so it's like you order a Sprite.
It's like the same way you're allowed to get into a car with a girl. It's like it's not yichud because it's a date.
But you do have to wonder if the seatbelt is allowed to be closed or not, because the seatbelt accentuates the body.
Yeah.
You don't want the boy to,
Also, do you have to keep a window open? Like maybe that like takes away the yichud.
These are the tough
sexual
questions.
tension in a shidduch date car is it's palpable. It's
I've
incalculable.
done so many comedies on it where it's like the girl sitting across from the guy and the girl's like and the guy's like driving, he's like
yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
It's true though. It's true.
Yeah, that is hilarious. So did you I'm blanking on my questions. Zach, go ahead.
Right.
I have a specific question in mind that I wanted to ask, but
wait. So I'm still stuck on you. Honestly, like because I probably know more about like the lesbian community than I do about the Hasidic one. There's Hasidic
you might know more
comedians.
about the lesbian community than me.
I don't know, but there's Hasidic comedians that put out entertainment, both male and female?
Again, in my days, there was nobody else besides me. There was maybe like one or two other people, but I was the only Heimish from female comedian. So I was being hired.
Female. That sounds it sounds being Merame.
Well, there were men. Of course there were men.
There were
like
stand-ups?
a batchen.
Right.
So
is a batchen like a stand-up?
Well, sure, because they get to perform at weddings, bar mitzvahs, sheva brachas. They have already a built-in, at every simcha, There's some kind of entertainment or some kind of bachman, especially in the Haimish world, or every concert or Chol Hamoed. There's concerts that are advertised. So basically, they were doing it for men. We were like, we can do it for women only, which shaves our audience in half. But surprisingly, women wanted to come out and see other women perform and appreciate womanly jokes. They don't get to relax. And if a woman goes to a man's concert today, a frum one, she can't dance.
She can't let
vibe.
Loose. She can't let loose.
Exactly. But in front of women, lucky me, she could.
So was there any pushback when you were doing this in the Hasidic community before you left? Was there any pushback?
Hell yes.
Oh, so they didn't like, even in front of women, they didn't like
No way.
it?
So we volunteered for this big organization. Let me give them a shout out. Zichron Shlomo Refuah Fund.
Shout out.
Excellent cancer organization. So we got together, a couple of friends, and we're like, we're going to create a show where we can do for women, by women. It has been done before, but we're going to bring it to the Haimish community, which is a very niche part of the religious community.
Yeah.
And newspapers wouldn't print our advertisements, and rabbis called up the organization and said, we're going to pull our our haskama on your organization because you're having women that should be home and you're putting them on stage. And we were like, listen, women can be home and also women need an outlet. And we started putting up advertisements for auditions, and we had rooms full of these regular housewives that are talented as heck and needed a place.
You could say hell, by the way.
Yeah, I'm just being mindful.
Well, no, I don't want to hear that type
Exactly. Chas v'shalom. Talented as Gehenna.
This is amazing to hear, though. It's
Yeah, so we
amazing
did
to
that.
hear.
Could you explain a little bit more about what exactly this was? This was for
women, by women. So for example, you know how you go to some Broadway shows and they're based on famous songs like, like the hits of Britney Spears, and you'll see it in a Broadway show.
Sure.
So, Kal v'chomer, so we did, Lahavdil, actually, that's the right word. Yeah. We did something similar. We took like this Journey songs and we wrote a play. We wrote an actual production and we stuck in all the famous songs. So people who came out got to see a story with all the songs they grew up on and loved. And we did it one year, then we did it again. By that point, other organizations caught on and they started doing all these performances. They started realizing they need a new gimmick. You can't get people out to just spend money on an auction or just to donate. No, how do we get them through our doors? Entertainment. All of a sudden, out of the woodwork came other comedians, other singers,
businesses
other
realized that this was a great way.
tzedakah organizations.
people weren't interested in coming to Chinese auctions anymore. It's been done
They
for
wanted
100
to come
years.
out and see shows. And right now, if you look around at the Jewish entertainment, from women entertainment, it's popping.
And you're the OG.
I mean, I wouldn't say I'm the OG, but I would say I was from the early.
You helped popularize.
Yes,
You helped popularize.
I don't like to say I'm the OG. I'm sure there were people that Rachel's Place had done it before.
Right.
I grew up. I went to women's productions, but they just hadn't infiltrated the Haimish Hasidish community.
This is really news to me because I didn't know that there was that many
Oh yeah,
women
it's a whole
performers
trend.
nowadays.
Like it would be interesting to monitor the marketing trends. You guys should know this because you're a you're following the social media podcasts. But for a while, food blogging, like in the Haimish world, was hot. Like I don't know if you guys. Okay, might as well give her a plug too. There's this girl. Her name is Raisy's Cooking. She's a Hasidish lady. She's like, you could dip strawberries in sugar. Like what she says. Today we're gonna make a delicious pecan pie. When I heard her say pecan pie, I was like, Tichel Tuesday's doing some pecan pie, And so like
Your
she's
jokes
like
are writing themselves.
She's the Hasidish Martha Stewart. It's fascinating to watch.
Meaning she's been to jail.
Well, no, but she also received a lot of backlash because she was a Haimish lady putting her face on the internet as like a blogger and a cooker.
I'm trying to remember if this went on in the Lippish community. I'm sure it did to a degree, but if it was as intense as the Hasidic community, I would assume it wasn't as intense. Obviously, in the Lippish community, you can't put your face in magazines. That's given, which is a whole different conversation.
Fair.
But I feel like women were allowed to be a little bit more, out there, if you will, like a little bit more present and not as erased from society.
Yeah. I think it depends. on the yeshivish communities. You know what I mean? And on the Litvish communities. There's the Rebbitzin that wears, another one of my characters that wears a snoot down to here. Chas shalom, to even have somebody look at her the wrong ways.
Right.
So it really, really depends. Although over time I'm realizing, even in the yeshivish community, it's not so much the men, it's the women. They're so terrified. It's like the men are, I find, more chill. It's the women that are like, looking at other women and being like, did you see how she was dressed? I couldn't believe it.
Why do
She's
you think
making my husband look.
Yeah,
why do you
what's
think
your
that
take on
is,
that?
though?
I think women are more spiritual. And again, this is just my opinion, people. Women are more spiritual. So to them, it's their way of connecting. Like, tznius, gotta go hard. You know what I mean? Cooking, cleaning for Pesach, gotta have a heart attack and 100 blood pressure. You know what I mean? It's like they're taking it upon themselves. I think that's why if you look around, like during Jewish holidays, especially like Pesach, there's a lot of like, especially in our communities, there's a lot of more emotional, mental issues going on because there's a lot of OCD that's triggered in this time, like extra clean, extra perfect.
I think a lot of divorces in the frum world, they're first plotted on Pesach.
Oh God, you think? But it's like especially
not finances.
But even with Haimish women to keep a house. I grew up, the most important thing my mother took pride in was a perfect house.
Yeah.
Home cooked everything, folded neat, just so, that was her pride. And so OCD is a natural development because everything is so perfect and you're comparing yourself to other housewives.
Yeah.
Today women are like, I popped it in the microwave. You know what I mean?
I think religion is a very known thing to exacerbate OCD because of the fact that there's a lot of fear. OCD comes from an anxiety innately. That is what OCD is. It's an anxiety-related disease.
So, but for those of you that are listening, I just want you to know social media, and there's a million things in today's society that also give us OCD and crazy,
Sure.
So it's not like people always ask me like, why do you have to talk about the frum community? Like, why do you always have to? And I'm like, why not? These are my people. Why would I talk about, I'm not in Mumbai. I'm not talking about things, even though that's all very relevant. We talk about what's ours. I consider myself a part of this nation. So this is what matters to me.
Also, I looked through your stuff. You're not coming from a place of like hate at all.
I don't think
your
so.
Characters are what I would call a loving caricature. They're making fun, but it's not like making fun like, haha, these people are so stupid. It's making fun like, because it's funny, but it's love. There's so much love there.
Yeah, I also want to expound on that. So I've been following you, and I follow a lot of people in this space, and I never got the feeling, forget about your characters, which I love and are hilarious, like Zach is saying, but I never got the feeling, even when you weren't talking about the characters, which obviously don't show any hate, just humor, but I never got the feeling just from hearing you talk on lives or whatever that you have anger. Like that's not really not
the work, baby.
And yeah, I was going to say, by the way, if you did show some anger, warranted.
Right, exactly.
Fucking warranted.
Exactly. I think it's okay to be angry. You have to be angry.
This is a point I really do want to talk about, like, because it really grinds my gears. Is like,
Tamamish gets my budgies in a bunch.
Your budgie. That's a new one to me. Like, there seems to be this thing in our society that like anger is never good. Like you can't show your anger. It's like, that's actually one of the ways to process. Like, I don't want to just bottle that shit up inside and then have an aneurysm at 45.
Yeah. Like I grew up where that's what they told us. Like just my mother would always say, you slap on some lipstick and you put yourself, you put your best foot forward for a new day. And that was my whole mentality growing up. Like slap on some proverbial lipstick and just keep moving until one day, like I literally broke down and I couldn't anymore. Absolutely. Like feel the feelings.
Oh, for sure.
Feel the feelings. Be angry. Be sad. Always, repeatedly, and then feel it, and then. But until it's all out there, it's going to manifest itself in a million different ways.
It's funny because Freud literally says, quoted, "Unexpressed emotion will never die. They are buried alive, and they will come forth later in uglier ways." So yes, you need to process emotion.
I love that quote.
I want to give you an exclusive. Okay, there's a lot of people that I've hurt in the process of becoming the person that I am, which I'm very proud of who I am. But I sit a lot with people that I've caused a lot of pain to. Good friends that I kept big things from. Sure. Also, I struggle with codependency, and I consider myself sober for years, but I am in coda, and I am to 100% addiction. And in my codependency, in the height of my codependency, your biggest fear is disappointing other people. So what I would do is manipulate a lot of truths and say a lot of things that I didn't mean to garner certain results and reactions from people. And through that process, I hurt a lot of people that really are important to me in my life. Some of them were kind enough to stick around for this version of me. But those that I lost because I deserved. No one deserves, but my actions warranted that. And those are the consequences I will live with. And that was because I was trying to be the nice guy.
Right.
I totally relate to that. What you just said, by the way, the accountability that you're taking, if anyone doesn't understand the level, in my opinion, of wisdom and character that takes to just say what you just said and own something like that, that is honestly super impressive. And I think it goes back again, what I was saying, Zach jumped in, but I was saying about I think it seems to me like you just want to live your truth, be understood and be accepted. That's always the feeling that I've gotten from you. And who doesn't want to be understood and accepted?
It's one of the deepest desires.
It's one of the deepest desires. And that to me is why I was always a huge fan. It didn't ever seem to me like it was coming from a place of hatred. It was just like, this is who I am. Can you please work with me and understand me? And
right,
allow
but
me to
I think that also part of the healing process was realizing that I don't really care to be understood anymore. It's okay to live a life that people don't understand.
No one?
Obviously, respect matters to me. I need you to respect me, but it doesn't mean you need to understand me. Because even people that we love do things that we may not understand. And they could explain it till they're blue in the face. And we may just not either agree or still understand. It's fine. I don't need you to understand. If I get into bed at night and I'm comfortable with the way I lived my life today, and I know I didn't mean to hurt anybody, then I'm cool. And I think that was the biggest part of getting over my addiction. Not everyone's going to understand me. It's fine.
You know, I would agree with it. It makes sense what you're saying, that you can't have everyone want to understand you, but I do think that there's a primal, like, certain people in your life. I think you do need that nucleus of people to love and accept you and not shun you, and to have compassion and have certain integral empathy. I mean, these are core things that a human being needs, I feel like.
Let me give you an example. I'm going to switch it around for a second. I don't understand arranged marriages. I don't get it. And when I say arranged marriages, I include it in the parsha of the way a lot of people conduct shidduchim, which is the parents do all the research. They bring this person home to meet their daughter. A couple of weeks later, they're engaged. A couple of months later, they're married. And that's considered a very normal practice in a lot of the communities. I don't understand it for the life of me. I don't. However, I respect it. I respect that this is your culture and this is something that's important to you. You don't believe boys and girls should be meeting on their own. Right. You don't believe that 18 or 19 or 20-year-old girl can make that decision for herself or needs to make that decision for herself. So from a young age, you made them believe that when they're of age, they're going to have a resume. It's going to be a one-sheeter, and it's going to say who they are, and it's going to subject them to one paper or two. Then they're going to submit it to matchmakers, and matchmakers are going to sift through these papers, pick the ones that are appropriate for you, and that's who you're going to work with. I don't understand it.
But you respect it.
I respect it because that's important to you. That's a value. And we can argue if they're hurting someone or not, you know what I mean? But this is your practice. This is something you believe in. And I know I know I'm going to get people that are going to come for me now and say, oh, so you believe it's okay to hurt other people and take away their choice and whatever? I think religion is complicated. I don't think I know everything, but I think I understand that I don't understand. And that's okay.
That's the beginning of all wisdom.
I respect my father. I'm very close with him. I don't agree or understand with a lot of his practices, but I respect it. I respect that in his mind, you need to go to a rabbi to ask permission to go on birth control. I respect it. I don't understand it.
Does he come to your shows?
No, but actually I'm doing this big show and it's my first time that I'm being like very raw. When I say raw, I mean it's not just comedy. It's a show where I'm talking a lot about like my journey and my growth.
Sorry for
If you want to come, by the way, I have a VIP section.
I will be there.
This is because
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I would like to come.
Yes.
Okay.
When is it?
It's sold out. That's why I'm saying if you want to come, I'll arrange it.
Yeah,
we really appreciate that.
And I'm thinking of asking him to come because I would really love for him to see
That'd
me.
be huge.
But I don't think I am going to ask him to come. It would hurt him too much. It would hurt him too much to see my hair. It would hurt him too much to see me in pants. It would hurt him too much to see me admit in public that I like girls. That would be very difficult for him.
I understand.
Wow. How have you dealt with living your truth and knowing that at the same time by doing that you are hurting someone. And I ask that because I have had my own difficulty with this, taking on this own pod. Not that it's nearly as extreme as you, but cursing and just totally being myself. My parents are well-respected people in the community. My father's, the manal of a big school. So for me, I had that, like the first 20 pods I did, I was like still dancing around and not being totally authentic and vulnerable. And now I'm just like, I made a decision, like I gotta just be me. So obviously you're on the far spectrum of needing to just be you. How do you deal with that?
I think two truths can exist at once. Your truth doesn't take away from your parents' truth, right? They raised you a certain way. They expected you to turn out a certain way. They're hurt and they're disappointed maybe, right? That's their truth. That doesn't take away from the fact that you also need to be authentic and you might be different than what they expected. Those two truths have to somehow exist.
But do you ever see something as far the fact that you're hurting them by creating their own shame?
I'm not hurting them. And you're not hurting your parents either.
Okay,
they're hurting themselves.
Yeah.
They have expectations from you. Get it? You're not matching their expectations. Therefore, they are hurt. But you didn't do anything.
What about the natural feeling? Hold on. What about the natural feeling of embarrassment and shame that comes with growing up in a community where there is a lot of focus on how your children come out, right, on the other side, so to speak. And because of that, there's a natural shame and embarrassment.
Are you responsible for that?
I hear. I mean, I don't think you're responsible. By the way, I'm doing it. Like I'm being myself. So I do ultimately obviously think that you got to live your truth and it's your life and they quote unquote have to deal with it.
I think what she's getting at is at a certain point, adults need to be responsible for their own feelings. Like you need to take, just like she's taking ownership of the way, like you have to take ownership of like, I am at a certain point, your parents or just people in general choose to have feelings about you.
I would also say that this is very possible that this is a codependency in its own right.
Of course. By the way, I always think of the ultra-Orthodox or the religious concept as a narcissistic relationship. What is it based on? What is a narcissist? A narcissist is somebody who only sees you as a supply. All you are to them is an extension of themselves for whatever it is, right? So in religion, what is the family dynamic? You're all supplies. We are all part of a community. We are all extensions of this belief. The minute that extension veers from the belief, or the minute that extension doesn't match you, oops, we got a problem. Then it's not an unconditional connection. It's a connection based on what you offered to me. It's transactional now. And it is what it is.
I mean, yeah, I think that a lot of work has been done and things have changed dramatically in how we deal with people that become no longer religious. I think the view that is being pushed significantly in the last 10 years, and for sure we had Rabbi Shaya Cohen on for the last 30 from his perspective, is that it doesn't make a difference what your child does.
I love him also. And I also like, those are the Jews that I love. See, I'm, of
You
course.
know of Shaya Cohen?
Yeah. First of all, I listened to your podcast.
Oh, yeah.
So, also,
I'm honored.
I love those kind of Jews. They're yummy to me. And anyone who knows me in my life now knows that, like, I don't know if I consider myself a Baal Tshuva or whatever you want to say, but like, I used to go to shul every Shabbos. I stopped for a long time. I go to shul now every Shabbos. Wow. I keep kosher. I fast on Yom Kippur. My home is a Jewish home, and I want to be even more connected to Judaism. And I love those Jews. They're my yummy, yummy Jews. I did ayahuasca with like from people that when I was in a really bad place and I was completely paralyzed. When I think back about it, I'm still scared.
Could you describe that paralyzation?
I will. And I asked one of the guys there who's totally an angel with a long beard and sits us out, like, is it okay if I hold you? Because I was falling and I was like,
right.
My legs weren't holding me up. And he's like, sure. And in that moment, I burst out crying and I said, you're such a Jew. You're such a good Jew. Like, there was nothing else to him. In real life, he would not allow me to touch him.
Right.
But in that moment, I was on the floor and I needed somebody. I needed him. And he was there for me. And I was like, that's a Jew. To me, that's my fellow Jew.
You know, this reminds me of just, I was
Leah,
very...
Could you pull the mic out to you, Leah?
Yeah,
it's
right
fine.
here, baby.
ASMR?
No, because I want to pick up. I want to pick up what you're saying.
So sorry, everyone. I'm not so good with these objects.
That's great.
Are you back on?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
We're good.
Yeah, that reminds me of something that I was very into Rav Aaron Lichtenstein for a while. I don't know if that's coming from the modern Orthodox world, which obviously in some ways is much worse than the not religious world because it's mamash chaval. But I was very into something. He wrote an essay once. He was talking about, I don't remember the specific he was talking about. I think it was someone who like on Shabbos needed help that would involve muksa maybe, but it's a guy, it's not a Jew. Can you do it? He said this concept, which is a real yid, a Jew. If someone needs you in a moment of weakness or vulnerability, your first thought should be, oh, how can I help them? Not, what does the Shulchan Aruch say about this? Let me consult the rabbi. Should not be your first thought. It can be your second thought, and it's an important thought to have because if you're a halachic Jew, but it should not be your first thought. Your first thought should be, of course, how can I help?
Yeah, I mean, for anyone who's listening, I just want to be clear. I am by no means like, the pinnacle of what a religious Jew is supposed to look like. And I'm well aware that there are standards and I'm not on those standards.
Could you explain for a second why you're becoming more religious again? You left it for a reason. Let's just first talk about why you left religion, right? There's the obvious answer. Okay, let's just.
All right, so let's trauma dump. I'll trauma dump.
Why did you leave? Let's start with that. And then why did you come
exclusives. Unfortunately, I was raised in a mindset where it wasn't about connecting with God or taking pride in my Judaism. It was very much about what people are going to think. Like, wake up early for shul. What are people going to think if you come late? That's what I've heard a lot in my house. Exactly. Or you can't wear that. What are people going to think? Or what do you think you are, modern? Or who wears red nail polish? Modern people? Or we don't watch that. That's goyish, That's how I was raised. There's them, there's us, and we keep ourselves a certain standard. Now that I have the understanding that I do, I realize how I was raised in a very small-minded home. True Jews teach their children love of Judaism, warmth, what you're doing, why you're doing it, which is what I'm learning now. I'm literally like a baby. Everything that I learn now is through new eyes because, this makes sense to me. I'm not saying that that I'm on board for everything, but a lot of it makes sense to me. So that means that you should only keep it if it makes sense and you shouldn't if it doesn't make sense? What should I tell you? I wish I was on that level where I just did everything carte blanche. I'm not. I'm a human. I have questions. And so in order to practice something, need to stand by it. I need to believe it, which is why I choose to be monogamous. I needed to practice what it's like not to be monogamous, to understand that that's something I don't want in my life, right? I needed to do certain things in my life to realize that I don't want to do those things. And by the way, as a queer person in New York, it is very hard in hookup culture to connect with other like-minded people that are also monogamous, surprisingly, or that don't want to hook up right away. I actually lost people in my life that I really liked because I didn't want to have sex with them. How bizarre is that?
Bizarre.
Those are people that you also probably don't want in your life.
Actually, no. I met someone that I really, really liked, and I just didn't feel that I was ready for sex. And I said that, and I actually ended up compromising what I felt because I was afraid I was going to lose her, and I liked her.
Don't you think the fact that someone that you considered a friend was willing to walk away from you because you were uncomfortable doing something is a testament to who they are?
Well, lesbians, they go deeper than that. They tell you there's other reasons. They say it's because you strung me along and you this and that, even though I didn't. I was very clear about my intentions. But yes, people live in hookup culture, and that's what they want. They want friends. They want benefits, which also gets confusing to me, like if we're friends and then
what could possibly be confusing about a friends with benefits situation?
Well, I know,
those
right?
are always cut and dry, easy situations.
So I sometimes do need to try things to know that it's not a lifestyle that I want, and that's what I did with polyamory. And I ended my relationship with my previous partner after a 6-year relationship. And I said, there's no way that I'm jumping into something else. I want to be single. And I was exploring everything, boys, girls, like everything.
I was going to say, you tried dick and it wasn't for you.
Well, I didn't actually go ahead and try it, but I tried dating people who had those things. Okay. And, and I've definitely chochi-mochied a little bit.
Chochi-mochi?
So when you describe yourself, by the way,
space vibes. But it's I get nothing out of, like, as I've told you off the podcast, I personally don't get anything out of random hookups. It does nothing for me. I don't see someone and think they're hot. I talk to someone and my boner starts up here and it's like, it marinates and then it travels and then I get a real hard on for you when I like really
when you
connect
actually
with
like
you.
like
Do
the
you
person.
feel, you mentioned that, right, you've explored men, women. Why don't you consider yourself?
Hello, everybody. Tune in. I'm talking about that time I explored my sexuality.
Sexuality. That's
This
good.
should be your hook. This should be the hook.
Yeah.
No, but seriously speaking, why don't you call yourself bi?
I hate labels, and you should know that. Label. I am a human being, and I like human beings. I am a person of God, and I like God. And I'm a person that's Jewish, and so I connect with my Judaism.
And therefore you like
and
the
if
filter fish.
you need to understand what kind of Jew I am, or what kind of political affiliation I have, or what kind of sexual orientation I have, that's your problem, not mine. I'm comfortable with being this human being. And I don't want to be put in any box or any label. I came from a community that did that to me, that took away my right to think, my right to dissect, and my right to pick and choose a life that works for me. And I will never be put back in a box. I like people. I like experiences. I like a political world where nobody's telling me what to do and where I get to think for myself on either side.
I love
Can
that.
you take the mic out and just drop it? I'm joking, but like, that was
I'm like,
such a yeah. Just throw it on
No,
the
I
floor.
love that. I
Yeah.
love that.
I rarely feel like I've been in front of someone who has so clearly done the work, and so like it's
I'm
very
telling
nice to
you,
see.
like, I've opened myself up to a different world, and in the world that I live in, people don't care. People don't care. The problem is we're being fed things.
What do you mean
Social
that-
media.
What do you mean that they don't care?
People
Yeah,
don't
you
care
can explain.
who you're affiliated with. People don't care who you're attracted to. People just don't care. Even from the Frum community that I've been around, my friends
They don't care.
give a hoot because that's not my existence. My existence isn't to shove my political beliefs down your throat or my sexual beliefs down your throat or my religious beliefs down your throat. My goal in life is to live a peaceful life in harmony and enjoy myself because that's what this world was created for. And play and grow. And that's it.
It also
love
usually shows a certain insecurity if you have to be that. If someone else's foreignness, their foreign beliefs, sexuality, this, that, any part of their identity is foreign, if that is so threatening to you, what's going on is there's a deeper insecurity you have that you're not so solid with yourself. You know, you're not so solid.
Or at least
with,
you're not willing to question your.
you're not willing to question
Yeah.
things because that if it's not so threatening, most cool people don't give a shit about you, about what's going on with you. You know, it
Your
just comes down
specifics,
to.
yeah. The
So,
yeah.
I always tell people like the real lines, the real political lines. It's
Yeah.
left, right, this, that, sexual. The real lines are you cool? Are you chill with yourself,
Yeah.
or are you kind of still not?
But it's sort of
That's
like
the real lines.
That's the problem. Like I look at you and I'm just from what I heard on your podcast and just from what I know about you, and I'm like, I feel sadness. I know that you're doing work, but I feel sadness because you're still so affected by people in your life that love you and don't respect you and understand you. And it still bothers you a lot.
First of all, I thank you. What makes you think that?
I mean, just in this conversation we had where you mentioned that about your parents and the community that you come from and how you're working towards not caring, it's a big burden to bear, to always worry about what other people think. Like,
yeah.
You know, I'm not worried about what they think, to be honest. I'm worried about hurting them. I don't want to hurt them. I don't
why?
care what they
but
think.
But it is what they think. Then.
Well,
Then it is what they
no,
think.
no.
That's
Why
how
does it
they
have to be
feel.
the same
Then
thing?
you're not hurting them.
Maybe I am. Maybe I'm causing them embarrassment.
You're not.
Okay, but I
That
don't like
believes
hurting people in general in any way. If I can
But when you
alleviate
get
any-
into bed at night, the Torah says it, okay? The Torah says, machshava tova kamaisa, machshava ra, right? It's all about intention. Are you intending to hurt your parents?
No, I'm not.
If anything, so much of what you've done has been not to hurt them.
I agree. And that's why I put my head to the pillow with no problems. But it doesn't mean there's a piece of me. I happen to think it's a beautiful piece of me that I still go out of my way to try if
Yeah.
there's any way. Now you could say it's codependency, this and that.
No.
But I don't like hurting people.
No.
so-
I think it's emotional maturity. I go to my dad. I still wear sheitel and a skirt.
Okay, so why?
Which is where Pesci came from.
So that's
Is
my
that where-
question.
okay, I
Why
wanted
is
to
that
get
any
into that.
different then?
I do it because he knows my truth.
My parents know my truth.
Good. Then good for you're doing it. But I hear the
They
hurt
sure
in
as
your
hell.
voice.
Yeah, okay. I don't
Nothing
disagree
wrong
with
with that. It's sad.
Well,
I'm also sad. Are you kidding? I have brothers that don't speak to me. My brother made a wedding and he called me up the day of his son's wedding. And he said, I'm walking down the aisle. I'm walking my son down the aisle and it hurts me. It pains me that you won't be there, that my one and only sister. Now, back in the day, I would have said, oh, if it hurts you so bad, have me there. It hurts you. I hate that when they do that rhetoric where they're like, you think, like a Rebbe slaps the shit out of a kid and then goes, you think it hurts you? It hurts me much worse.
But isn't that what we say about Hashem?
Yeah, like, bro,
That's all that
no.
we gaslight ourselves into like.
Yeah, so
that
I
all the
get
time.
it. And when he told that to me, back in the day, my thought was, if it hurts you, you should have me. But I told him, Maishi, I want you to walk down the aisle with zero thought of hurting me because I understand your truth is your truth. My brother would not be able to do shidduchim and would not be able to live the life he lives if he would have a relationship with me. It's not okay in his community. So he has to not have me in his life.
I don't hear that.
I agree. You and I both know that who runs the world? Girls. No. Who runs the world? God does. And you cannot control shidduchim, you cannot control parnasa, and you cannot control your health. My brother thinks that by not having anything to do with me, his kids have more options. Okay, that's his way of thinking. I understand it. I understand that I don't understand it, but I'm saying I respect it. And I can live with that.
Wow.
I can live with him making that choice in his life, just like I'm sure he can live with loving me and knowing that I have tattoos.
Wow.
This is really deep stuff. I want to take a quick break from
No,
the
I don't
very
wanna
heavy.
play.
This is
let's
just a
play.
very quick break.
Let's
just
play.
a little playful, and then I want to go back to
Let's
the heavy
play.
stuff. You did just mention tattoos, and I've been staring at your arm this entire time because I really want. You also struck me as the type of person who probably has a story behind most, if not all of them. Can we get a little tour?
All right, so here's a tour of this one. This I think is pretty cool. This one says Bein Adam Lamakom.
Oh wow. Okay, and then what's else going on there?
I also drew that. This is a heart. And it's a safety pin. Oh my God, you know those people that get tattoos and they're like, let me explain to you why I got my tattoo. Nobody gives a. Okay, but basically, I felt like this was my relationship with God, Bein Adam Lamakom. It's a constantly in repair.
Mm-hmm.
And
wow.
it could just never, it could never
fully
be the way it's supposed to, or the way it, I got this tattoo while I was drawing in class. I was teaching and my students were taking a test. I was teaching in Beis Yaakov, Derav Meir High School. I'm so sorry to my former students that are listening.
My
to
sisters
this.
went there.
Help.
I love that.
And I taught AP classes and advanced English. And
you
then
taught
they
AP
fired.
English?
Yeah, I teach now currently as well.
There's
I
a
have so many
lot
questions.
going on.
I have
You
so many
teach
questions.
AP English?
Hold on a second. One thing at a time. What age did you realize, hey, by the way, I'm more interested in women than men?
The moment I was able to view women.
Okay.
Literally.
So what does that
I
mean?
saw a woman and I was like, oh.
Like the minute you hit
I
puberty,
never
whatever.
felt that way about boys.
So 13,
ever.
whatever.
Yes.
Okay.
Now also, I grew up in a world where nobody around me said that boy is cute. Nobody said that girl is cute, but nobody said that boy is cute. When my brothers had friends over for Shabbos, I often went away. We were very close in age. So I wasn't allowed to hang around with my brother's friends. Everything's completely segregated in our worlds, right? We don't nothing. We don't go on the same buses. But the few interactions that I had with boys and my brother's friends were buddies. We played sports together.
You broed out with them.
Yeah, I broed.
Was there
I didn't bro with girls though.
was there a year, a period in your life where you knew that this was your truth and just was in turmoil inside about how you're going to move forward with your life?
So this is the tattoo. So I drew this. I was drawing a heart and a safety pin. And I was looking at my girls and I was thinking, like, if any of them knew what I was or who I was, I would be fired from my job. In addition to that, I would feel like I disappointed them. I was a really respected teacher in the community for many years, and I was terrified of being fired. Imagine if they knew that about me, right? I go outside and I call my husband, and I can't even talk. I'm crying, and I'm telling him, Dovi, I can't do this. Like, I'm teaching, and I'm coming home to a husband and kids. Like, I don't want this life. I want to live one life. And he said, who cares? We're living our life. Who cares what other people, And I would be like, okay. And then I'd go back into class teach, and every few months I'd have this breakdown.
So he knew this whole time, your husband?
Oh yeah.
You did.
And then one day I was outed.
Whoa, wait.
I was outed.
By who? Now you don't give a name.
Girl that I went to high school with and seminary with. She left the community and she was going through a lot of her own troubles, which by the way is very common when people leave a close religious sect. They don't have direction in the real world and they go from one extreme to another. It happens a lot. And so once they have a tiny touch of alcohol or drugs, if I could say it, there's nobody ever taught them responsible drinking or responsible drug use or any of these things. So they go from, or responsible sex. So they just go, and she was going through her own thing. And she asked me to testify as a character witness in her custody battle. And I myself was going through my own stuff and I said no. And she was very resentful and held on to a lot of resentment for years, which I did not know about. She became a very public figure at the time in the community, but always had a bone to pick with me for not being a supportive friend. And I was in a lesbian club in Henrietta Hudson, and I was wearing a tank top, and I had my first tattoo only. And someone sent her a picture of me. I don't know who. She took it, and she posted it and blasted it all over the internet on every group. And wrote, "Congratulations, Leah Forster, for being an OTD lesbian." Now, the words OTD, which for those of you that don't know, means off the derech, also another vomitous word that I can't stand because who decided what is the derech? I 100% want to be OTD from that community, that rigid, but I want to be on the derech of being a closer,
Is there a term you like
connected.
better? I've heard the term post-Orthodox. I kind of like it.
Why can't I just say I'm Jewish?
You totally could.
Like,
You
who
totally could.
decided? Like, or just I'm a person. You know what I mean? I know that's ideal. That's ideal.
Because
I think it's just a way to explain the life.
Yes, I grew up ultra-Orthodox. That I would say, and I'm no longer
I
ultra-Orthodox.
still can't believe this woman.
So she did that.
That's-
I understood.
Wow.
That
First
is
of all, who
some-
took the picture?
I had no idea.
doesn't
I
know.
woke up in the morning and I'm in class and my phone is, I'm teaching.
Your phone's
And
probably
I
going off
come out
the
and I'm
hook.
bing, 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 bing. And I come out and I'm like, what is going on? And I see I have like 83 missed calls from my friends. Are you okay? Are you okay? And I'm like, what's going on? And my mother was sitting Shiva. My aunt had just died. I was already in the process of the divorce with my husband. And I was already in the process of making changes. I had taken off my full sheitel. I was only wearing a cap. I was already like being more open about like my, but like teetering the edge,
Right.
And I got called into the office. My principal said, I want to speak to you, and shut the door and said, please take your things and this will be your last day. And I was teaching in the school for 13 years. So it's like, I was head of their chagigas, their productions. I was Mrs. Forster. I was like, and then I left and I looked through my phone and I saw what happened.
Well, I assume when he told you that, you knew.
Yeah, I didn't really know. I still had no understanding. And I'll never forget the words that he said. He said, you're an English teacher, and you work with the girls one-on-one. Can you imagine what the parents will say when they find out you were alone in the office with a girl? And I'm like, dude, I'm not a pedophile.
Right.
I'm not interested in
it's
your
exactly the same
15-year-old,
thing happened
16-year-old
We had
girls.
this- We had this
We have
last
this
time.
Rafi.
Okay, yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
So, and then later I ended literally, by the way, right after I left my husband, I was in the process, but I left him. I met my ex. So you're taking somebody from a super traumatic past who was thrown into this marriage. By the way, when I think of being in labor, I think of my body as not being mine because I was told that I need to get married and have babies. And so that's what my body was for. But I look at my kids sometimes and I'm like, how do I have an almost 19-year-old? I was a child. It wasn't,
You
I
were 19 when you
deserved
had her.
better, 20,
Yeah.
whatever, but I deserved better. But, right? So I'm sorry, we went heavy again. But I met her and I was like,
Let it go
ooh,
there.
a girl who's super into me and obsessed with me and tells me how amazing I am and handed me a family on a silver platter.
What does that mean?
Her mom adored me. Her sister adored me. Her brother adored me.
Can I go back 1 second?
Yes.
This woman, and we don't have to name names, but this woman who's your ex
Yes.
that you met after your husband, was she also, again, for lack of a better term, OTD coming from that world or not at all?
She came from a non-religious world and became more religious.
Oh.
Right.
That would explain why her parents loved you.
Oh, yeah. I was Jewish.
Yeah.
And
they were-
and we
yeah.
both wanted a more Jewish life.
Nice.
Unfortunately, life got in the way and my values slipped. But I didn't have the religious life that I wanted with her.
Why
I
do you feel
didn't.
your values slipped? And what values were those that slipped?
To me, Friday night, Shabbat, is extremely important. I love disconnecting. I've had a very tough relationship with my phone. I was addicted to it, and I like the idea of shutting it off and shutting out. I like the idea of singing, of making delicious foods. I like the idea of talking Torah. I like going to shul every Shabbos. It gives me a purpose in the morning. Like, what else are you doing on Saturday morning that you don't have an hour to grab a coffee and chill and shul?
Brunch with
I
mimosas.
love that.
Do you
Exactly.
Right. Okay.
Well, you can do brunch after.
I know.
Right. So it's like, so those are the values to me. Also, like, to be honest, if I could look back, I wouldn't have gotten my tattoos. I wouldn't have.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I don't want a marred body. I don't.
You feel it was just a way to ease the pain?
No. I like art. I love art, and I look at it and I like my ink. I do, but I wouldn't have done it. I like a lot of things that I wouldn't do.
I just want to
People
say
like drugs and don't do drugs.
from this pod, I obviously knew about your comedy, but I did not know that you so apparently you're an artist, like a painter or
No,
a drawer. But you're
I
talented in that.
doodle. I don't really draw.
But also that you teach AP English, so you're also like very into like literature.
Yeah, well, my master's in English, and I was teaching in high school, and one of the teachers, my co-teachers, got sick. She was teaching adjuncts in Brooklyn College, and she said, I have 2 classes, and I desperately need a sub. And I substituted for her, and she wasn't getting better, and then I ended up taking over the classes.
Now, this is not a Hasidic school, is it?
No,
Because I
I'm
was going to
teaching
say, I
college.
doubt a Hasidic school would have an AP English class.
No, this was flapper schools. But they were
This is the school your sisters
prominent
went to.
flappers.
Yes,
These are
yes.
very
Besaco Meir,
real.
huge.
Besaco Meir is a super
It's
a
duper
legit
frum
school.
school.
Trust me, next level.
No, well, good for them. They had.
I taught in Mesores High School in Beis Meir High School and in Lev Beis Yaakov.
How?
And I was fired from all 3 schools
Did you
when
ever
I was outed.
teach
Same
your
day?
school? Oh,
Within a week, I lost my job. Within a week, my family stopped speaking to me. My husband and I finally got our divorce. And I
When
lost
did your
everything.
Crazy.
When did your husband find out? When did you share with him, that you're a lesbian?
Well, I'm not a lesbian.
That you're
first of
that you
all.
had
It's
attraction
not your
to
fault.
women.
My
Yes.
apologies, I'm sorry.
I like the ladies, but I like everything. So, I think to an extent, he always knew. He knew about my relationships with women. And he's like a lot of men that assumed that it's not threatening or it's just maybe something that I need to work out. And also, I hate speaking about him because he's the father of my child. He definitely had his own things that he needed to work through. And the 2 of us were not a match regardless of gender. We were 2 people that really needed to do a lot of work and were not emotionally mature. We should never have gotten married, but it became a codependent thing, and that's what happened, and we loved each other. We did.
Wow.
So,
Do you feel that if that didn't,
like if sexuality wasn't a piece, would I have stayed married to him?
no, I'd argue the other way around. If you guys were mature, would you have, and he was more worked on, you both were more worked on, would you guys have stayed together? Because the sexual piece wasn't like,
No, I think it's easy to like pontificate. You ever do that with all your relationships? Like if this wasn't a factor, would we have worked out?
Yeah, of course.
Like who gives a? It was a factor.
Doesn't matter, right?
And I'm a better person now. So, it doesn't matter. I think about my ex, who I loved more than anything in the world. And damn, my heart was so broken. I mean, I met her right after, my husband, and immediately I jumped into that. And that was all I knew. And I thought we were going to be together forever.
Wow.
And it was so bad. It was so bad.
it was bad the whole time? Or just towards the end?
I don't think any relationship is bad the whole time. Why would anyone stay? But I definitely was in it for the wrong reasons. And that's not on her. That's on me. I was in it. I wanted love. But what was I getting to? She was beautiful, really a beautiful girl. And she was so young. So freaking young. I was like 12 years older than her. I had no business. And not because I'm an ageist, but because in life, I had a degree, I had a career, I had a home, I had a kid. She was just figuring out what she wanted to do with her life. Unfortunately, she wanted certain things from me and I wanted certain things from her. And then we changed as people, which happens a lot. But definitely people came for me and they're like, oh, you're with somebody so much younger than you. And I'm like, LOL. My husband was almost 9 years older than me. Nobody blinked.
Right.
You know?
Double standard.
But I
Double
learned
standard.
something from that experience, which was I shouldn't be dating someone who's not in my stage of life.
Right.
Yeah.
No business.
Right.
You know, maybe, you know, if you're into stupping, that works. But, you know.
Yeah.
I got a question though. So it's clearly you're someone who's just been through like a lot of, you know, real sadness, real trauma in her life. Do you find comedy as a sort of, I hate the word coping mechanism, but like, do you find solace? Do you find solace in comedy that like
in
you can
everything
still be,
I do, in everything
Yeah.
I do, like dancing, baking, cooking is sexy, you know? So I take comfort in
cooking?
everything.
Do you see the TikToks with like the sexy
Ugh,
cooking
I can't.
TikToks now?
I
People like
cannot.
spitting on food.
How dare you saute onions like that?
It's great. It's wild.
I love cooking also.
wild.
I find it super sexy. But yes, I take a lot of solace in comedy specifically, and I love humor. And the other day, you know the song, I Could Have My Gucci.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that song
yeah.
is
So
Trainor.
I did a cover of it.
Yeah.
I could have my Louis Vuitton, but make sure you have something on, or you'll make him look. You'll make him look. So I did like a whole thing on it, you know?
amazing.
And so, of course, I got comments. Why do you do that? Why do you make fun of the Hasidic community, you know? And I'm like, dude, look through my page. Like, I got a character called Marlene. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She lit. And I have like Natasha. You know,
Right,
and
you make fun of every community.
And I have like,
Equal
you know, Muhammad
opportunists.
Pakatana
That's
with
me.
like one dot over here that will detonate a bomb from below.com. I do all the characters, but somehow like when I do, and of course I'm going to do that character. That's where I
Wait, so
come
no
from.
one from any of those cultures has ever like even like an Indian person of Indian descent
Don't
and like
follow a comedian if you don't want to get insulted.
100%.
That-
Can I
Like,
ask you,
honestly,
pause for 1 second. During this whole Kanye, Kyrie Irving business, Dave Chappelle went and did his own monologue,
Yeah,
whatever, 50 minutes.
yeah.
Everyone, Dave Chappelle, I saw a whole thing. Dave Chappelle's an
it's
answer.
not funny.
And I thoroughly disagreed. I listened to it, and Zach happens to disagree with me on this. I was like, Dave Chappelle makes fun of every single demographic,
But
denomination.
even a comedian who doesn't make fun of every demographic, it's comedy.
I agree.
Like, if you want to not be offended, you should probably lock yourself in your house and I don't know what to tell you. Floorboard
hey,
your.
I just want to go on record here. I fully agree with that. And that's actually how I take the pod. Like, you know, like if you're going to be offended, like, but there is a difference between saying jokes that can be offensive because they're edgy and like what I think Chappelle did only once or twice in that monologue, which is put a little dog whistle into like some very real heavy anti-Semitism. That's all. There are consequences to actions, and I think we can all agree to
Yeah.
that. There's no you know, that's all. I'm
But
saying.
also, like, maybe we should live in a world where we're not dissecting every single word that somebody says, because frankly, nothing is black and white. If there's Shivin Panim La Torah, then
Shivin Panim to
yeah,
Dave Chappelle.
exactly. Number one, and number two, like, since when is everything black and white? We either accept someone like this or we don't. And if you don't like his content, don't follow it. Like,
Right.
I keep my page private.
Yeah, why?
If I kept my page public, I would have so many more followers.
Well, you look through every single follower.
I have, confession, I have a social media manager. I pay somebody. They post my content, they post my messages. I also have it on my phone. So I film once a week, a bunch of characters. I have my wigs and my things. I film. She decides what goes up every day. And she posts and however, I also have access to it. So I post some personal things and I do also check my messages.
Right.
So like I'll star the ones that I know that like are repeats that I want to like pop up on. But all my gigs and my bookings,
She's managing it.
She manages, and then she'll be like, "What should I write?" You know.
Okay, I wanna dovetail here. Because now I want to get more just into the comedy world, and I have seen you perform live.
I feel like you should cut a lot of this, all the serious talk. People are gonna be so bored.
No, I
we'll
disagree
see.
with you
Wait.
thoroughly. Actually, I think this is what people want to tune
Yeah?
into.
Okay.
I will say I definitely want to get
Maybe
a
we could
little
do
more.
it two
Leah, can you pull the mic?
We do have a very funny person in front of us, and also very worked on, beautiful. But I want to touch up on the funny now. So obviously you're
Touch
funny.
away.
Okay, so I looked through your Insta. You got a lot of characters, most of them based off of some like Jewish Hasidic stereotypes, yeshiva stereotypes. I love your Lakewood one. The Lakewood, I think it's like a teenage girl. Lakewood.
Bila.
Bila, amazing. My question is, do you have any interest in building characters and doing jokes outside of from context? Are you? Is there any part of you that wants to break out of that? I don't want to do from comedy, kind of like Elon Gold, for example. Good example. I was at the Chosen Music Festival, and we're gonna have to talk about it. I'm so sorry. I'm giving you PTSD right now.
Happens.
It happens.
Happens.
It happens. But like Elon's got all the From stuff, and then boom, he could do an hour of regular comedy. Is that something you want to get into? Do you want to do more regular comedy?
I've done that.
Okay.
So let me go on record and say that, like I told you before, my needs changed a lot.
Sure.
I needed to perform. It was much more important to me 10 years ago.
Okay.
I needed validation. I needed the audience love. I needed to know that I matter. It felt really nice when my entire family disowned me and when I was kicked out of a restaurant and all those things happened to me. It felt really nice to open my phone and have hundreds of messages of support and love from complete strangers. I needed it.
It was therapeutic.
It was yummy to me.
Yeah.
Over the years, I've done the work. I don't need that. My biggest fear in life was being alone. My ex and I had a very toxic relationship towards the end, and she would often tell me, like, you're just going to end up alone. No one's, same thing that my mother told me. No one's going to love you and all that stuff, which is my biggest fear. And one day, thank you, ayahuasca, and thank you, good people of the world, I realized that I really am good alone, and I love myself enough. I've got all this love. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't have it to share and that I don't want someone in my life. But right now, the validation of people doesn't matter to me anymore. Right. So I'm not looking to grow my comedy career. I turned down tons of opportunities. I should have turned down the Chosen Comedy Festival. It wasn't for me. I'll give you guys an exclusive about the many reasons why it wasn't for me. But I like performing for people that are buying tickets to come out to see me.
See you, right, exactly.
They want my show, and then it's a totally intimate experience. Anyone who's ever been to a live show where it's only me for an hour knows. Everyone walks out and knows everyone because I've picked on everyone and I've shared shit and it's been a fun hour. When you perform with other people and you get 10 minutes, you're performing with, it's a sheva brachas. It's a shalom zacher. You've got a singer, a rapper, a comedian, an influencer, a baker, and boom, we've got ourselves a Jewish show. And it's a cholent. I didn't belong there. I had no place being there. However, I was
You were the
honored.
proverbial pineapple in that cholent.
Yeah, I was like so happy they asked me. And also I love Modi and I wanted to be a part of it. When I got there, a couple of things that happened. Number one, we just survived a fire. I went to Fire Island with a bunch of girls for the weekend. And our Airbnb burnt to a crisp in front of our eyes with all our possessions in it. And 4 days later, I got up on stage in front of 5,000 people. The flashing lights was like boom, boom. And I was like back at the fire. And it was such a mind F. I can't even tell you. So that was number one. Number two, my dad had given me my mom's diamond ring right before this trip. And it was very valuable to me because my relationship with my mother is extremely complicated. And it meant something to me. I was holding my mother's ring. And it felt very validating that my father chose me of all the siblings to give it to.
Right.
I went to Fire Island and I told my friends, I'm cooking for Shabbos. Everybody went out and I was cooking and I was setting up for Shabbos. And I wore the ring and I put on all this music that my mother liked. And I felt very connected to her I put the ring down on the counter. And then later that night, the fire happened. So the ring went up in
crazy
flames.
Headspace.
And I was not, it was like I had just got it and then it was taken from me and I was already experiencing losses and I was, and it's like, and it was a tough situation. Then I get to the festival. Backstage, listen, the comedy world is full of a lot of drugs. I'm sorry, I'm going on record to say this. And I mean like
I don't think that would surprise anyone.
Okay. I don't F with drugs. I have a lot to say about it. I have very close people in my life who were addicts. And I was surrounded by too much addiction, codependency, classic enabler. So I don't mess with it. I don't hang around people who do it. And I very early on in my comedy career in the regular world, I was introduced to it. I had walked into green rooms where there was like lines out in front of me and people were blowing it and offering it. So not a scene that I wanted to be a part of. Backstage, there was a lot of that. And I will just say that anyone who looks through the stuff will be like, oh, that comedian for sure. You're talking about like really big names that came backstage and were like, anybody got blow? Anyone got snow? Anyone got, And I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, I thought I'm edgy because I'm like, I'm a stoner, So there was a lot of that.
Can I just say that festival,
it was terrible.
We talked a little bit about it. It was such a wild experience because like Jeff Ross was there, like Dave Attell was there. These are like filthy, hilarious, famous comedians. And that audience was like, is my 5th grade Rebbe in this audience? Like it was like parts of that audience were so frum and it was so weird. You might be more used to that.
I have a lot to say, but like I really want to respect
I don't want this whole
comedy
thing.
community.
Yeah.
And I want to say that it's very niche. First of all, it's run by men. Also, it's very interesting, like how you notice things in certain communities. You just named some big names. To me, that means nothing. It doesn't mean you're a good comedian. It doesn't mean you're a kind person.
I do want to go on record and say that
nothing.
those 2 guys that I did name are very good comedians.
Right, and I
I'm a
don't
big
know
fan, and
them. I
want
don't
both
know
on the
them
podcast one day.
personally, and I hope that. By the way, I could connect you if you like.
Amazing.
I know them all, but I think it's.
I don't like them, so please don't.
Okay, to me, it's a lot more than just being a good comedian. Like it's not enough for me. But again, that's just me. Right before I got up on stage, we were in the back, and one of the male performers came off stage, and I asked him where I'm supposed to go. And he's like, I'll show you where to go. He's like, I'll take you, because it was another direction. And he took my hand, and he touched me and like went under my shirt. I can go on record and say this. I could say that between the drug use and me just going through the fire thing and losing my mom's ring and him touching me inappropriately, I was like,
time out.
Totally effed up.
Holy shit. This
Yeah.
is wild.
He was like,
male?
He's like, you're so much prettier in person than you are on Instagram.
What a lovely
And, like,
compliment to give
yeah,
someone.
which is fine. I get that.
Yeah.
People say like I don't look like I look on Instagram, which is probably true because I don't give a esh if
Does
I
he
look
not
good.
know that you're not like particularly into men?
And he like took his
First of all,
hands.
who cares? Even if she was, you
And
can't touch.
By the way,
No, for
thank
sure,
you for
but that
pointing
just
that out.
makes
Actually,
no
it's not your
sense.
fault. That's actually not your fault. I got touched a lot by women too,
Well, that makes
Oh,
more
by
sense.
religious women, and they'll
they're hitting on you. What does that mean?
they'll be like, by the way, I'm bi, and they're like, and even not religious women, and even just regular women. I go to a lesbian club, I get touched a lot.
Time out. That at least makes some sort of sense.
I would like
It's
to
not
put out a
appropriate.
psa. Please do not touch me. Thank you.
It's not appropriate. It's not
Guys, whether you're
respectful.
I know,
gay, straight,
guys are
bi, or
like, please
anything at
touch
all.
me. It's so funny because I'm dating somebody, and when I told her this, she's like, oh, I have no problem. Everyone should touch me. Like, please touch me. It's like,
No,
it's
again,
flattering.
I think it's very inappropriate to touch a woman without being in a certain place in the
Listen,
relationship.
maybe not
obviously.
everyone. And a lot of
But,
people
like-
don't give a crap. Like, you touch them and goodbye. Personally, I've been through some stuff in my life and I've done a lot of work. But if somebody randomly touches me, and I mean touches me, I'm not talking about a tap.
Right.
I'm talking about sticking your hand under my shirt.
Up to
and
the no-no places.
looking at me close and saying like, so much prettier in person. Wow.
Obviously.
That's
I was
slimy.
like, and then he still had to walk me to the stage. So I was like on high alert, and that's how I walked on
I'm definitely getting
stage.
this name from you outside of the pod.
No, you're not.
No, you don't have to.
No, you're not. Because it wasn't about him.
Right.
And whatever. I think he maybe knows that he was inappropriate,
Mm-hmm.
but that's about it. I don't think he's a bad person.
Like, look, I'm fascinated by. I do have dreams of being a performer of some sort, whether it's music or comedy. But the idea of like you're just doing it all the time. There's for sure nights when you're in such a bad mood. Like, are there things that how do you get in that zone? How do you do it?
I had that experience, and I'll walk out, I'll open the door, and I'll look at all the people waiting for me. And I was like, all these people have had this date on their calendar and are so excited to laugh and escape for an hour.
Oh, so you think about giving to them?
I mean, I think a lot of people use drugs to get them into that space.
But she's saying she used the
doesn't.
idea that
it is a
giving,
drug.
it's
Got
giving
it,
to them.
but I'm saying the uppers are for
Yeah,
that.
for sure.
To put you in a place where
sure.
you don't think and you're
It was so sad to me. I was in the green room with these really famous comedians, and we're talking about comedy and traveling, and they're all sharing how like they're so unhappy. More than 2 or 3 of them, like, I never feel settled. I asked this one woman, like, I know she's like married. I'm like, what do you do? You're always on the road. She's like, I need to be. She's like, I need to be. I can't be home for more than 2-3 days. I feel constant unrest. And
Do you think that's an unhappiness, or that's just like they want to just go
They're
deep?
energetic.
Yeah.
energetic is different. I'm energetic, but I want to be home.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
This is almost like something that gets
I guess
said
I'm
about.
asking, like, I can't sit still for a second. I wouldn't say that means I'm unhappy.
No, but
I might be
think
unhappy at
that
other reasons.
one
but I
day-
don't think that's
No, but I think that maybe one day when you have your own home and it feels yummy to come home, you're going to want to come
You're saying like
home.
actually a good marriage?
Or like
I don't feel like that happens. I feel my odds are against me.
Oh no. By the way, you want to laugh?
I feel like 85% of people, husbands are like, I got to go to shul. I got to get the hell out of here.
Okay, I'll tell you. The best marriages are my from friends.
Really?
Really?
Why do you think that is?
They're married to their best friends.
Wow. And these are Hasidish people or not?
From yeshivish, Hasidish, modern.
Everything.
My straight
Hold
from
on.
friends.
Sorry for interrupting you, but these were arranged marriages.
But it works. Again, because they're good Jews. If they're my friends and they're in my life,
They're good
it's
people.
because they chose to have me in there.
Then why are
good
you so
people.
against the arranged marriage thing if you see like it working in a certain
It
way?
doesn't work for me. I can't do it. Therefore, I got out of it. But if it works for you, I respect it.
Got it.
Yesterday, I went for lunch with my friend and she called her husband to tell her about some dumb coat that she found on sale. And she's talking about it for 10 minutes. And she's like, I tried this one on and then I ordered that one. And she hung up. I'm like, does he give a damn? She's like, too bad. He's my best friend. He has to hear what I have to say.
Is there a part of you that's like, oh, I don't like, is there a part of you that's like a voice in your head that's saying like, what, you don't have the balls to just go, balls to the walls on comedy? Because like all these other comedians, they're just, or do you think it's just coming from a healthy place?
I can if I want to. I don't want to. I discuss it with Modi all the time. Like, I cannot imagine having a job where my entire job depends on if other people approve or like me or laughs. Like if I bomb, I'm done.
Is there a way to do this where it's purely because of the fact, for the most part, or a lot of it is that you enjoy entertaining, you think you're great at this, it's 80% that, and yes, obviously we're human beings, we have ulterior motives, and then it's 20% getting people's validation. Does that exist?
Of course. And first of all, there's nothing wrong with getting people's validation.
Yeah.
Hello.
So
Like,
why do
it's
you-
healthy.
So then why
Because
won't
she
you
I
just doesn't
don't
want
want to
that.
depend on it. There's a difference between enjoying it. Of course, I enjoy the validation. I'm sure you do. Your podcast will be successful. You'll feel good about yourself.
No, our self-esteem is perfect. We didn't need this.
But even so, I don't want my whole livelihood.
Yeah,
My
to be-
livelihood depended on what other people thought of me.
No, that's
I'm
very
done
smart.
with that.
You, by the way, you came from a fucking perfect storm to create a comedian.
Yeah.
Like all your trauma, like that is like you were made in a laboratory to be a comedian.
I mean, I joke all the time because like I say like, this is really bad.
I was actually two questions.
wait,
that I
what
wanted
are you going to say?
No,
What are
I
you
always
gonna
say like I grew up in a community where they told us, from a young age, they told us like, HaKadosh Baruch Hu only gives tests to people
Yeah,
that could handle
You're
it.
literally
You're one
holding
of his
on-
strongest
Hold on,
warriors.
Pause for a second. Pause. I wanted to ask you this.
No, wait. And
I was
this
at
is the best
Sababa.
part.
I know what your
you're
punchline is going to
okay.
be. Say the joke, and then I'm going to ask a question. Go ahead.
So the joke goes like this. So Hashem loves the people that he gave challenges to. Hashem loved Aaron Avinu. That's why he told him to sacrifice his son. He loved him. So me growing up had a massive complex. Like, God does not love me. I'm like out here living my best life at 7, no challenges whatsoever. But Baruch Hashem at 9, a family member stuck his penis in my mouth. So thank you, Hashem.
So that's what I wanted to ask you. It's hilarious. But so this is what I wanted to
I'm
ask you.
skating on thin
I
ice
know,
here.
right?
Like, am I allowed to
when
laugh?
I say the joke, people are like, "Oh,
It's a great
Listen,
joke.
I'll tell you something. I've never been. You're getting the exclusive. I've never talked about like that particular part of my past, and what really, really activated all of that for me was my relationship with my ex-wife, because we were not legally married, by the way, but I still refer to her as my wifey, because she would pressure me and say, why can't you tell me about what happened? Why won't you talk about what happened? And I didn't want to. I really blocked out a big part of that part of my life. And I did the work, and I did ayahuasca, and I did a lot of EMDR. And I've actually faced that demon head on. Nobody wants to close their eyes and think about times where someone took control over your body.
Right. Yeah.
But I did it, and I didn't want to, and I did it, and I did the work. So I can make jokes about it.
Have you?
Yes, you can.
Label. I can make a lot of great connections. I'm going to ask you some questions about the type of girl that would be a good match for you. How about that? Okay? I won't even say what type of girl are you looking for, because we shouldn't look. The universe sends, you know? But label. Personality-wise, what's important to you in personality?
Okay, so before I get into that, I just want to say, if Leah Forster makes my shidduch, it would be the ultimate thing in my life from my podcast. That would be incredible. It would just make everything come together.
It makes so much sense.
I know, right? Total.
I'm feeling sparks. It's gonna happen.
You would be able to
Love
tell your parents, you see, Ima, why I made this podcast? Pasha to find my basha.
I do actually have a theory on that, by the way. When I was first debating starting this podcast, I literally told Shmuley, I'm like, you got to understand something. He's like, well, people, this, that, it's, it's risky. I'm like, you don't understand. I have nothing to lose. Like, the only thing this thing could do is improve my odds.
100% agree with you. You never know where do you know that I met this girl that I'm dating? I met her in shul.
No, but you're not understanding what I'm saying, though. That doesn't speak. I'm just saying that I think there's a certain self-awareness. You have to know where you stand, especially based on what you're looking for.
No, but also you never know why you did this podcast. If you find your wife from this, how cool would that be?
No, I know why I did it. I totally know why I'm doing it and why I totally know why I'm doing it. I'm just saying that for me, I don't feel like I have anything to lose when it comes to the shidduch situation.
I'm doing it for the kids. I'm in it for the kids.
Yeah.
That's why.
I'm in it for Klal Yisrael, totally. But I think for me, I personally don't feel like I have anything to lose. So yeah. But what am I looking for? I mean, honestly, it's not that I'm looking for a regular frum girl. I know that sounds very cliche and very straightforward.
No.
But it's really not like just a regular, normal.
Okay, what are your age limits and max?
My max is probably 31, and that's probably pushing it. I'm probably at 30. 31 I've done. I've dated
so like
girls.
20 to 30?
I wouldn't do 20. I'd probably do 25 to 31. If someone tells me, probably
All
shouldn't
right,
say this.
so let's start like this. If you're between the ages of 25 to 32, step right up. Label as a strapping, tall, handsome man with his very own podcast and a super cool pad, by the way. He lives with 3 guys. That might be a little bit of a red flag.
That's the part we have to leave out.
No,
thank God.
I actually think it's really smart.
What?
I think it's really smart that you live with guys, and why not? Your home should be a fun, good, chill place for you.
It's a lot of fun. This also happens to be that one of our roommates is never here because he's in a residency, so he literally doesn't even exist. And he's from Kansas City, so it's like
Perfect.
So he already didn't exist to begin with.
So let's
He's
talk
just,
about
never here.
personality. What's important to you in terms of what stands, for me, let's say, for example, what would be important to me is I need somebody who matches my intelligence. I like to read. I want to be able to talk to someone about these things. In my previous relationship, I would use certain vocabulary, and my ex would say, you're speaking so condescending to me. I don't understand what you're saying. So I've learned from my own, I need someone who matches me on that level. I want someone who has a sense of humor, someone who's not too sensitive because I crack a lot of jokes. So what's important to you?
It's a great question because I think I do want someone very sensitive, but I also don't want someone too sensitive who's if I make a joke, they're going to take everything too seriously.
Right.
So I think there's a middle ground there that you kind of strike, understand what's a joke and when a joke is too far, et cetera, et cetera. I definitely want someone very smart. No question. I can't deal with stupid people. That I can't deal with at all. I know that sounds very cocky and not so nice, but it just drives me crazy. I do want someone very, very worked on. There's no question about that.
Self-growth.
I've been in therapy 11 years and counting. And I probably will. I don't think I will stop doing it. So I do want someone. I want someone that's ready to grind. Ready, really get in the arena and just sorry, Leah. I know. Oh, is that? No, but I want someone who's really ready to put the work in. Realize, hey, this is after. You have to have in your mind, in my opinion, that after the first 4 to 6 months of marriage, all the fairy tale stuff is gone. Totally gone. You have a real life.
Label. You can't just be popping people's balloons like that. Okay.
Yeah. Also,
Sorry,
I don't think so.
If you don't work on it.
Oh, okay.
If you don't work on it,
I'm a hopeless romantic.
I hate. Same.
No, I am
Same.
a hopeless romantic, and I think if you put in the work, I think it could be the most beautiful thing in the world. If you don't put in the work,
the best part is if you're with someone who doesn't make you feel like it's work. It's something you want to do.
Yeah, but I think the more you're always going to get into fights with the person you're in a relationship with. I think the more you put in the work, the more that want develops. The more that I've had this with other people. That the more the interest, when you both see each other trying to work on each other and judge each other favorably and be understanding to each other and communicate, and you see the other person in a relationship working on themselves, it makes you all the more interested. It makes you love the person more. I don't know. It just kind of feeds on itself.
Guys, label's a catch.
Mitzvah girls, mitzvah, or whatever they say.
I have more questions.
Yes.
Judaism. I know it's important to you.
Why do you think that?
I think because I asked you off record and you said you would only date a Jewish girl.
Oh, for sure, yes.
So now tell me,
it's a given.
Level of Judaism.
It's the level of Judaism. I want someone who is sincere and cares about it and is growing. That's all. I'm not particularly, as long as from a hashkafic perspective, we have the same ideals, I'm not as crazy about where they're holding right this second, if that makes sense.
It does.
So as long as I don't care per se where you are exactly on your journey. I just want to know that our foundations are the same and we're trying to get to the same place.
You know, you remind me of those girls where you ask them what they're looking for and they're like, I want someone who's close to his mother, but not like obsessed with his mother. And I want someone who's tall, but not like the tallest in the room, not like shortest in the room. And someone who's Talmid Chacham, but not like, oh my gosh, I know everything. And someone who's smart, but not like, okay, Harvard graduate smart. You know what I mean? It could be like a Wall Street Journal type. You know what I mean? And someone who's like, so, like appreciates the finer things in life, but not spoiled.
So you're basically making fun of me.
No, but it's like, I want this, but I want that, but I want that. So basically, I want a robot, is what I'm saying.
Everyone's looking for Goldilocks. They want the perfect.
No. Actually, you're on point.
No, it's fine if I am.
No, actually, you're very much on point. What you said about you don't care where someone is now, you care where they're going, is something that I struggled with because when I met...
they may never even get there.
Right.
That's fine.
So I am more particular. I want someone who puts their money where their mouth is. Don't just tell me that Frumkeit is important to you, but right now, on Friday night, you're going clubbing.
I agree. There has to be, but
then,
that doesn't mean you're sincere. Like, there's levels to that. Like, I wouldn't just date a girl who... There's a level to it.
Right. So
like I wouldn't date a girl. I wouldn't date a girl that's
I
not sure
smoke now, but I wouldn't smoke when I have children. That wouldn't work for me. Then don't smoke now. Like
but there's differences.
But people who say like, I want that now. I want somebody who is doing it now.
So I think
but also much older than
I think
you.
There's differences about what the actions are. Smoking has an effect on other people. It has an effect on you. There's each situation is unique.
Yeah, but
as far as religion specifically, I think you have to have a clear understanding of like how you want to raise your children. I think that's a huge factor.
Yes, but here's my thing. If you want a certain lifestyle, why aren't you practicing that lifestyle now? Because you're making excuses?
No, maybe I am practicing that lifestyle.
No, you are. Then wouldn't you want somebody else who's also practicing
I think I
lifestyle?
need someone who's sincere about it. I do. I need someone who's like, I want to go out with someone that's not Shomer Shabbos or, totally out to lunch. I wouldn't, even if they're telling me that. But if I see that they're putting in work daily, again, every person, you have to know who's sincere. It's a kind of like feel. I don't know how to explain it. You see people who are genuinely trying to get better, are putting in real work. They're not just talking.
Right.
They're doing what's difficult for them, and you can't decide what's difficult, that what you're doing is not difficult for the other person. Like everyone has the things that are difficult for them. And so long they're doing and in the gym, doing those reps, so to speak, then I think that person's in their arena.
Is that important to you also? Somebody who values their health and physical?
Not particularly. I mean, I obviously want an attractive girl.
That's important to me. It's not about attractive. I need someone who cares about their health.
Yeah,
so, and that's just like, if you're skinny, but you're like sleeping super poorly and eating crap, we're not a match.
Oh yeah, we're not a match, Leah. Nope.
No way.
Not gonna happen.
I eat well.
I don't know. I kind of ship this.
I need somebody who values health. That's why I need somebody who's currently working out. Well, I don't care. Take yoga classes. Go for a run.
No, I run every day, but you could ask Zach about a lot of my habits are not very good habits.
Let me just say this. He goes to the gym, but he also, many times, we've gone to 7-Eleven at midnight and he buys 7 ice creams.
But one has nothing.
I will finish 3,000 calories of ice cream.
He has scared me in the past.
Movement into your life every day?
I'm a very all or nothing person. So when I started running, in the summer, I lost 30 pounds in 3 months.
Oof.
And then that's how I operate. Like
you want to talk about, because I'll go on record and talk about that. I come from a very, very disordered community. You know how it is in our community growing up, especially in like the Heimish world. The girls are skinny. Like what size is she when shidduchim? Like she's a size 2. Okay, but like a thin 2 or like a
Do they really ask that?
All right, this is gonna get me canceled maybe, but
no.
I've been in Borough Park. Swedish women are not that skinny, bro.
Women.
Oh,
you
single
look at
girls.
The young girls.
Yeah.
But what happens is they have babies and then they don't,
But they don't slim down after the babies. Like a lot of.
But let me tell you, I go to yoga at a Frum yoga studio with a Frum practitioner, and her entire class is Heimish women, and they are bendy and fit, and they care about themselves. Wellness is making a comeback.
I've heard something else about Hasidish women.
Why are they not very slim now?
I've heard something else about Hasidish women.
Again, it depends where. You can't make general statements.
Okay, no, it's based on.
Wait. Hold up. Is it true?
Is what true?
They're the horniest.
I mean, I don't know. I've never shook the
Hasidish.
Yes,
they're the kinkiest.
Yes,
That's not horny. Kinkiest.
No, listen. When husband comes home, it's
this is like a known thing. They have they like into BDSM and stuff.
No, it's because they don't care. If their husbands come home with anything, they're like, yeah, whatever. This is their mission in life. Please, my mans.
No,
but where are the Hasidish men even getting into BDSM?
Where?
Oh, I guess they have phones, a lot of them, but like.
No, they don't watch porn. What are you talking about? Them?
No, but also let's not make general statements about Hasidish men.
Obviously,
Because it's a kink, So it's
a
like
kink.
you're either into it or you want to talk about that. We can talk about that.
No, but
You know that Family Guy episode when they were making fun of like Jewish porn, but it was really Hasidim. It was like this Hasidish looking guy in full clothing, lying on a bed next to a fully clothed woman, and he's just like talking to her about the buildings he owns. That he like.
Yeah,
has
and she's like,
people-
"Oh, yeah."
She's like, "Oh, one day I'm gonna touch you." Like,
That's funny.
wow. Okay, so is the interview of me done?
I know. Wait, no. So, okay. So for
Well, can
those
I
of you
just say
that
what
are
I'm looking
interested,
for?
yes. Wait, aren't you in a
I
relationship?
am, but it's a joke. I'm making a joke.
Okay.
Here. I am looking for a learning goal.
No, learn.
I want a girl in Colo, and I'll go work. And by the way, I have dated girls who learn in Colo.
I do want to
It is
move on
hot.
from
It's
this
very
because
attractive.
I do think people want to hear from the guest.
Yes. Okay.
I don't think anyone
But so
really
wait,
cares about
it's
me.
not true. It's not true because you're going to be getting my listeners, so they're interested.
Oh.
They want to know new things. So those of you, and I'm not kidding, by the way, those of you that are between the ages of 25 and 31 that have a good relationship with themselves and Judaism and have their stuff together and are emotionally growing, holla at me and I'll sift through them.
Yeah, you're amazing. Okay. I appreciate that shout out.
Label
Leah.
is so
Huge.
uncomfortable.
No, I'm good. Can we go back into, I want to ask you another question because this is something that really hit me
Yes.
when you were talking. So you said that your biggest fear is not having anyone that loved you, and people told you that, including your mother, which by the way, explains very much why you have serious codependency, if I may
Holy
say.
shit, we're really
Duh.
going right back into
No,
drama?
it's true. It's
Could you
true.
stop cutting me off? I want to have this conversation. Thank you.
It's true.
So based on that, right? Your mother, obviously that's an incredibly painful thing to have to experience for a mother to, say that. You then said that your father gave you your mother's ring and that there's some sort of sentiment to that ring. And what I'm trying
excellent question.
to understand
So
is
the sentiment came from my father, not my mother. My mother and I, like I said, had a complicated relationship. The more work I do on myself, the more I realize that she really did love me. And I do believe she's in the Olama MS and looks down at me and is proud. I believe that she had a lot of her own struggles. And I represented a lot of things that were way too painful for her to face. And maybe different children handled it differently. Also, I was the only girl, so girls generally, and so I needed a lot more and I didn't get what I needed from her. That being said, when my father gave me the ring, it was a symbol of my father's connection to me. He didn't give it to my brothers. He didn't give it to his daughter-in-laws. He didn't even give it to his future wife, or his current wife, but he gave it to me. He wanted me to have that. He picked that ring. My father's in diamonds. He designed that ring, and that's why it mattered to me.
it was your mother's, he designed it for your mom.
Yes.
Got it. But the fact that it was your mother's, first of all, have you come to a place of forgiveness?
Absolutely.
You have.
Yes.
But how did you do that? Because that's the greatest level of forgiveness, if you could ask me.
I think there's something about saying, I know I deserved better. I could still say I deserved better, and also I forgive her because I don't believe she was an evil person. I believe she was an incapable person.
Wow.
Yeah.
And when your father gave you that ring, there wasn't this like trigger and
I mean, I could tell you stories. My father wanted to give me a lot of things for my mother. I didn't want anything for my mother. Nothing. When I was in Florida, I went to visit him and he said, I have something for you and I'm not taking no for an answer. And he gave it to me. So I took it. But I didn't really want anything from her.
So did it take you time to wear the ring?
I wore it once.
This was
that
the one
day.
time?
Yeah. And then I lost
Oh,
it.
wow.
I know.
That's almost like a spooky, almost like a, like neshamas come down back into the
know?
world just to do one
Yeah,
thing.
Why
Like,
did you
that
decide-
ring needed to be worn by you once.
I believe so.
Why did you decide to wear the ring that day?
I was there for Shabbos. I had it. I was going to put it in the bank. I was going away for Shabbos, and in Fire Island, you have to park your car in a parking lot, and you have to take a boat to the center of town. It's an island. There's no cars on the island. So I took all my valuables in with me. So look, I'm not leaving it in the car.
Right.
There's a place that's called Fire Island that you had a fire on.
Yeah, how
Wait, you
bizarre
haven't
is
heard
that?
about Fire
No.
Island is very famous in New York as being it's a gay hangout.
Yes.
It's I don't even know what the. Do you
I'm
know
not
the
familiar.
history of that?
Island.
Why that happened?
I'm not
Why?
sure, but it's like there's definitely a lot of rich history attached to the queer community.
Do does
and
the queer
it's-
people live there, or it's just a place people visit?
No, live also,
live
and
there.
then in the summer it's like a big vacation spot. So we went, a bunch of girls, for a weekend. It was a weekend called Les Volley, which was like a bunch of lesbians on volleyball teams from around the world. I know. Could you
No,
imagine?
it's cute.
Our house burnt down Friday night, and we didn't end up staying for Les Volley.
I'm sorry you missed Les Volley. That sounds
I
awesome.
know.
Did you like lose everything, like all your possessions? Or?
Everything, anything that was valuable, I had taken into the house. We walked out with the shirts on our back.
That is
literally.
What other-
insane.
Not even a second set of my car keys
That
were
really
in there.
sucks.
Yeah,
That is
it was-
insane.
It was crazy. It was
What
so
other
traumatic.
types of like lesbian activity? Like,
Oh, you want to go
like
there?
I want to go. Yeah,
No, actually,
tell me.
Zach, I'd rather not go to there. You could, but I don't want to go to there.
yeah, I
You
don't
don't
think
want
we
you don't want to come to Fire Island with me?
No, I
No,
also
I-
don't think we want our listeners,
I don't want to go to.
Listen, let me just go on record and say everyone should like who they want and do what they want and not hurt
wait.
anyone. I'm not out here hanging flags and promoting anyone to do anything.
I'm asking her what fun thing she does with people who has share a certain part of her identity with.
Yeah.
I don't
Oh,
think
for
there's
sure.
anything
No, there is
wrong.
nothing.
Like,
Yeah.
There is.
if you're listening to our podcast and you can't hear her talk about a
No,
lesbian
obviously.
volleyball team, get the fuck out.
Exactly, but I will say what I really like about
angry.
my
Look at him, he's
friends. No,
angry.
he's right. He's right.
Because I
But
felt
what
like you were censoring me there for a
No,
second.
I'm not censoring you. I just don't. Hold on. Pause. This conversation could go south. At least respect this. This conversation can go somewhere very quickly, which I just, you know something? I don't give a damn. Let's talk. We'll decide what we
We'll
want to
fucking
edit out.
talk, yeah. First of all,
no,
it's
but-
going south. It's going directly into someone's
the
pussy.
boys are
Let's go.
fighting.
All right. I don't know anything about the gay community in New York, and I know there's like a lot of like they have a community, and then they get a community, and I feel like in some ways
I hate the word community.
you hate the word. Okay, well I'm just gonna say what I want to say, which is that
Yeah.
in some ways a lot of my friends who are OTD are obviously gay or queer or
Yeah.
lesbian. They still get to have that community, they have that bed to fall on because one of the best parts about being from is this extremely close-knit community, and one of the worst parts about leaving that community is all of a sudden you are alone in New York City.
So I have a problem with the word community because I do
Why?
believe communities are illusions.
Hmm.
Think about it. You come from the frum community, right?
Sure.
But the minute that you veer from that, they're no longer really your community anymore.
But the whole definition
Not
of
my from community.
pause out for a second. The whole definition of a community is doing similar things for the most part. That's how a
Agreed.
community develops.
Agreed. So I think it's okay to tap into your like-minded parts and share them with certain people, as long as you don't disillusion yourself into believing that this is your community.
Politely, I will say that I grew up very different from you guys, and obviously, I'm currently going through things with my own mother. Like, there's obviously things that happen because I live a less religious lifestyle, but many people that were part of my
3:30. You think we'll be able to cut?
yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Cool. I would just say, and I'm giving credit that like there are, like you said, you hang out with a lot of frum people
Can
now.
you move in a little bit. Sorry.
I hang
or
out.
pull the mic out. I don't care if you want to.
I hang out with frum people, and I grew up around frum people that would very much still consider me part of the community.
Oh, I'm not
Very
saying
much.
that that you don't have community or that isn't community. I think a big downfall to anyone that makes changes or in general relies too much on things is believing that your community is everything. This is your community. I am my own community. And that means that I have my queer friends, I have my frum friends, I have my Jewish friends, I have my corporate, I have the comedians, but none of them are my community.
They're all parts of the pie.
Yes. And so
about the
community to me is scary because I've seen it on every spectrum where during the pandemic, the queer community became so divided because of political
Yeah.
reasons.
Yeah.
And it's like a really good friend of mine lost friends because she didn't post a black square during,
It's just absurd.
you know? And I was like,
I don't know
she
about you, but
wasn't-
those black squares did end racism. I don't know if you've heard racism is done, and it was the black squares that did it in.
and the blue squares ended anti-Semitism. Hello.
100%.
So she lost friends for that. And that was like, you know, and I've been in queer settings where I got called entitled and like
Entitled for what?
privileged. You know, I'm like a white
Because you're white
privileged,
passing.
You know, and I'm like privileged. I was in an arranged marriage.
Everything you've said today in this pod
I don't
sounds
think
very
this
privileged.
is a good look though for the like LGBT community. Like to me, it's a bad look, a very bad. Like it's absurd that people would call you privileged. Like honestly, I think that's like
Yeah, I had
it's-
that whole situation during the pandemic when it was like somebody posted a thing that said FYI on one of these groups that I was part of called Queer Exchange. And they wrote, FYI, there's a TR asterisk peace sign. They couldn't even write the word out, chas v'shalom, in the middle of whatever. Who wants to go down and burn it? So me, like a fool, it's the pandemic, I'm bored. I write, is this what we've become now? Like a destructive people? We're going around and burning things? Like,
I totally missed what they were trying to say.
To burn down a vote for me flag or whatever it was.
Trump.
Yes, a Trump flag. And I was like, that's what we're doing now? We're walking around destroying property? Like, that's not my community. And then it was like, oh, typical privileged white,
Oh, these are just losers. They're just losers.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Oh, Label, your kippa is hanging on for dear life.
Like his emuna.
No, it's right. Okay, so
if you want to ask the juicy questions,
I have a couple questions I want to ask, so that's why
I heard nothing about sex.
We got 8 minutes.
I know.
Let's get juicy.
One last thing. I just want to go over one last thing. So I have two last things, but this I just want to wrap up. So a few years ago, you wrote something about your an Instagram post when your mother passed away, right? That was at what point? Like this is before you worked on the forgiveness and everything, or?
I think it was a process. Again, if I can go back, I would probably have pulled that and I wouldn't have posted the text. I posted the last text my mother ever sent me.
Really?
And she wrote, good luck with your life. After 120, do not come to my funeral. Tati and I decided. She sent me that text.
That was the last message?
Pretty much the last, hardcore, the last message I ever got from her. Of course, I, at the time, was angry. And then as time went on, I hung on to the fact that that wasn't the truth, that she was just mad. So I was doing the work, and I believed that I had to keep doing my part. So I would send her texts every Shabbos to wish her good Shabbos. I would call her before Yom Kippur, before Rosh Hashanah, before Yom Tovim. I would send messages through other people. I really wanted to reconnect with her, and she never responded.
How many years between her passing and that message?
Maybe a year or 2 years. I saved it. I posted it because I felt that there were other people out there that were struggling with relationships with their parents, and I wanted to give that a voice, and also myself. I look back now and I'm like, that wasn't something I needed to post. I didn't need to post that.
Maybe you did. Maybe it was part of the healing journey.
Obviously, and I think that about a lot of things. We do things, I live with it. It's not something that I would do now.
So that's one thing I wanted to ask you, just a little bit harped on it. What would you tell? Obviously, your experience as far as having a disassociation from your parents is, in my opinion, the most extreme you can have, at least with your mother. What would you tell other people whose parents have shunned them, communities that have shunned them,
right?
That have been pushed away? Because I feel like you have the most experience with this of anyone. What would you tell that person now?
First of all, I don't think that it has to do with frumkeit. I think that narcissists specifically will use all kinds of mechanisms to manipulate their children, one of them being religion. But if it's not religion, it's looks or money or pitting siblings against each other or love bombing them or devaluing them or, all these things. And I don't think it has to do with religion. I think religion is just a tool. And that's in general how the world can use religion. Because how many good Jews have we met? Yummy ones, yummy good Jews that don't use religion as a tool. So I think that toxic people use tools to weaponize. And one of them is religion. But there are kids out there that are missing very basic parts that they need in order to develop properly. Parents focus a lot on giving their kids food, clothing, and shelter, and not on their emotional well-being. And those kids grow up to be neglected adults. And neglected adults become toxic, hurtful adults. So what I would say is go to EMDR, because it is trauma. I know we hate that word, but emotional neglect is straight up trauma. Even kids that asked for things and were ignored and told, don't cry. What are you crying for? That's emotional neglect. The kid has a feeling, you just shut their feeling down. These are kids that are going to forever be fighting to be heard and to be validated because their parents shut them down. A kid needs to cry, and when they cry, a parent needs to say, cry it out. Tell me how you feel. Give words to these voices. But we didn't. That's not what we were raised to believe. So EMDR with a very strong focus on internal family systems. The IFS system is the shit. It is a system where it is believed that all the people in our brain belong in the living room at some point or another. So we all live in the whole house, but everyone needs to hang out in the living room sometimes. When we do something bad or hurtful, we often say, that wasn't me. That's not me. That's a lie. That was you.
It's a part of you.
That was a part of you. And that part needs attention too. So that part that went ahead and was avoidant in a relationship and pushed someone they love away and mistreated them. Why'd you do that? That's not you. It was you. It was you who was terrified of being loved and was terrified of being hurt. So you pushed someone away before they had a chance to push you away. Aha. Bring her to the forefront of the living room. Let her have her moment. Talk it out. Get it out of your system. And then you can process it and move on. So EMDR, IFS, that's really my suggestion. And therapy.
I just want to go one thing on the flip side of this. Did you have, first of all, what's your relationship like with your dad? And what was his response to everything?
I'm currently in the middle of a struggle, so you can all, I reconnected with my dad. I struggle a lot with codependency. He reached out to me the day my mother died, and I reconnected with him in a very, very deep way. And we had weekly dates and, and then he got married and he has an amazing wife. My father calls me a lot and wants to have a really good relationship with me. If he doesn't hear from me from a day, he'll say, I haven't heard from you all day or yesterday. And in my head, I want to bark back and say, you haven't heard from me for 8 years. You suddenly care that you haven't heard from me for a day? And it's been years since I reconnected with him.
It was 8 years that he didn't speak to you?
Years, many, many years. I never counted, but years that my parents didn't speak to me.
I'm confused. You said your mother sent you that text.
Oh no, before I posted it, I waited. But my mother wasn't speaking to me for many, many years.
Oh, so the original text that she sent you.
I didn't post right away.
But I'm just saying, between that and her passing away was 8 years?
Oh, no. That was many years. Yes.
Oh, I thought you
yes,
said
it was
one or
many
two.
years. I have to do the math, but
Whatever.
it was over 5 years, like a significant amount
And
of
your
time.
dad was quote unquote in on this. Like he also said.
Nobody of my family was not speaking to me. Nobody. They just from one day to the next stopped speaking to me.
It's bananas.
I made chats. I reached out. I sent emails. I just wasn't. And then when I reconnected with my father, I didn't go to the Levaya. I mourned alone.
Okay.
I regret it.
Why?
I deserved to mourn with other people. I shouldn't have had to mourn alone, but I did because that's what my mother's last comment was to me. So out of anger, I said, I'm going to sit alone. That was foolish. I should have gone and sat, but I didn't.
What would you say to young people specifically coming from the frum world, or honestly from any religious or just any household where they feel, or community where they feel that their self-expression, whether it's in their sexual identity, gender identity, or more often just in their creative identity, it feels a little squashed. What would you say to them?
Good luck is what I would say, because I'm extremely artistic. I do comedy, but I sing. I love to sing. I love to dance. I cannot be tamed. I don't want to be. So I feel for artistic, curious, intelligent people, it is a struggle. And all I can tell you is that at the end of the day, until you live authentically, you can't be an emotional, healthy person. Those voices need to be heard.
That last line is power. Until you live authentically, you can't be an emotionally healthy person. I gotta think about that, but that's
a clip.
That's wow. That's powerful.
We're putting that on a billboard.
I have to think about it, but it's a strong statement.
Next to Calvin Klein.
Did you find it when you were, obviously all this was going on and you started going,
by the way, it is 3:35.
I need a couple more minutes. When you started going, living your truth, let's call it that way, because I know you don't like the OTD word.
But there's layers to the truth. You know how like you live truths and then you
like
live
an
more
onion?
truths? Yeah. Like when I was with my ex, I thought I was living my truth.
Right.
Because I had left my husband. I had come to terms with my sexuality, stopped hating myself. I thought I was living my truth, but it turns out that really also wasn't the truest version of myself.
Do you feel that you'll be like that? You'll say the same thing in 10 years? Or
Part
5
of
years?
me hopes so.
Right, because it means you're still
I
growing.
hope that I'm evolving.
Right.
And I also hope that the people that are on my journey stay through my evolution. That was the thing. I think the biggest mistake we tell ourselves is, you promised me, you committed to me, you said this, and I grew, and I changed. I want different things now, or I want more. Then the person who's meant to be with you is going to want what you want with you.
So how do you feel in a relationship after 5 to 10 years? Everyone changes. How do you navigate that in this? If you want a lifelong relationship, how do you navigate that?
Choices, like just because, let's say you meet somebody and then 5 years later you're like, I'm polyamorous. I don't want to be monogamous anymore. A choice.
But maybe it's not living your truth.
The person has a choice. Your spouse has a choice to say, hey, I'm not on board for this next chapter of yours. I don't want to be polyamorous. And that person might say, okay, I do want to be polyamorous, which means that this relationship is not going to work anymore. I'm still going to go now and live my truth. Or the other person says, I'm choosing to stay with you and see what it would be like for you to be polyamorous. Get it?
Mm-hmm.
But so you feel any single time you don't feel that you're living your truth on any level, the other partner should decide whether or not to stay with you,
It's always
or you
a
should
choice.
walk away?
I think it's Torah. Isn't Torah a choice? Kol yom yiyu beinecha kechadashim. You need to look at Torah every day and evaluate if this is something you want or not. Just because somebody threw a mountain on me, billions of millions.
Wow, damn, they don't talk about that in yeshiva.
No, but they threw a mountain and they said Nasa v'nishma. That's good for them.
Yeah.
Okay? But I live a life where I get to decide if I want Torah in my life. And I'm choosing Torah in my life every day. That's how I want to view it. It's a choice every day. And my relationship, I want to look at every day as this is a choice. So yes, I want to commit and I want to build a life with someone, but I want to be able to have the option to every day say, this is something I am willingly choosing.
Mm.
And we're all with partners who sometimes don't do things we like or want the things that we want, but nobody's holding a gun to your head and forcing you to stay with them.
No, I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to harp on it too much, but yeah. When you were leaving your relationship with your ex,
Husband or wife?
No,
I'm one
wife.
for one.
Husband.
your husband, wife,
By the way, I should be done. It's like the Torah even says you need one boy and one girl, and then you close shop.
yeah.
Bro. Yeah.
Did you feel like it was hard to walk away because you would have tons of haters and people like rejoicing?
Yes.
They're like, I told you so people?
Yes. And I was terrified. And also, like, she also added to that by, like, telling me that. And that's why I never wanted to put my relationship on social media, because I was like, I don't have a lot of privacy, But as you guys know, there are things I told you off camera that I will never publicize, right? And I wanted my love to be my love. And if you're in my life, if you're a friend of mine, if you're family, if you're community, you'll know who my love is because I'll bring them around. They're my person. But I didn't want to put it out for strangers. I have strangers who follow my page who have no right to know my love life or why should they? It's intimate, it's private. I didn't want a wedding for that reason because I don't want to stand in front of a bunch of people and tell you how I feel about you or even propose in front of someone. It's no one's business. It's like me and you. Why is that involving other people?
I find that also with social media, with celebrities, honestly, people get in at this idea that if I'm used to seeing you on a screen, I know who you are. You are seeing a curated part of them.
I think people are wise.
You don't
know.
They're wising up, but
Yeah.
it's surprising how, like, John Mulaney in the comedy world, like when he got divorced from his wife, people are like, what? That's not what he seemed like. You don't know John Mulaney. You don't know him.
Yeah.
He's on stage. There's artifice going on.
I mean, I happen to hate. There's like the influencer world now. There's this whole idea of like sharing everything. I think the oversharing has gone to a different level.
I have like a lot of trauma around social media specifically. Like my ex and I, one of the things, she would ignore me for like long periods of time, like sometimes days at a time.
Right.
And to me, ignoring is a big trigger. I don't know if you've ever been, but my mother would do it to me. And it was like, silence was like, I couldn't deal with it. Sometimes in the height of the ignoring, I would like get a tag on my phone and she would tag me and post a picture of us like from a good time.
Oh my God.
With some romantic quote. And I was like,
for real.
what is happening? And again, for those of you that are listening and being like, you're talking negatively about my ex, I'm not. I'm sharing my experience of how I was hurt. She was a lovely person and we both hurt each other. I've done lots of things to hurt her too.
Yeah.
But one of the things that was particularly traumatic for me was that childhood wound of posting something publicly when it was such a lie privately. I was sleeping in another room and we weren't speaking because you were ignoring me and you were posting a picture of how much you love me.
It's that
And when she
dichotomy
got
between the
engaged,
public.
because she's engaged now, and someone sent me pictures of her posted, and I was like, and they're like, is it bothering you? I'm like, all I could think of was, what the hell is going on in their relationship that she's posting it? Now, I want to believe in my heart of hearts that she did the work, and she's also, because I did the work.
Right.
I was not a good partner with her, you know?
Mhm.
But sometimes I do wonder. And my mother would do the same thing. I would get regards from people like, your mother's so proud of you. I'm like, the same mother that I said, do you love me? And she said, you have too much fat blocking my love for you. You would lose weight. I wouldn't be ashamed to take you places.
What age was this?
7, 8, 9.
Wow.
The geschmacka ages, the good ages.
Yeah, when that shit really digs deep and
Yeah.
stays part of your
So
personality
it's like
forever.
social media to me. I'm not saying it's not true. I post my friends. I post my life sometimes. I tag my kids sometimes.
Yeah, sure.
But like overall,
I just hate the oversharing. Like I see people like I saw someone put a video of themselves like while they're having like their babies being like taken out and given to them. It's like, oh, this is so big. Like that's your private moment. Like
Yeah.
like that doesn't need to be publicized to the
oh,
world.
because now that's cool. You ever see
It's
influencers
so
are like, I want to share
oversharing.
something vulnerable with you.
That's what I'm saying.
This morning I woke up. You guys are not going to believe this. I had a zit. I'm not perfect. I'm just not. I know you think I am, so lie.
Yeah. Last question from me. Zach may have others.
No, I think, yeah.
Last question. When you were, I was saying, right? When you were going through this whole, your whole journey, was leaving Yiddishkeit something that, did you have tremendous religious guilt while walking away, let's say from Shabbos or whatever it was infused in you going to Beis Yaakov?
Anything.
Walking away from that, was that super difficult and how did you deal with it? And just if you could expound on that.
Disassociation is how I dealt with it.
He wants to be on the podcast.
It's basically not acknowledging any other truth besides the one you're living right now. It's a bad thing. It's a bad thing because sometimes you have to deal with other things. So I was highly disassociated. When I made changes in my life, I was like, screw everything and screw everyone.
Right.
I was in survival mode.
Yeah.
So anything that I needed to survive is what I did. Why did I party so much? I discovered a club for the first time when I was like 29 because I heard music. I saw people dancing and letting loose. And I was like, oh. And then I was teaching all day, being a mom, being a wife. So when everyone went to bed, I was like, I need me time. I would run out and go dance because that was my only release. As I get older, I need it much less because my everyday life is release. I live like myself all the time.
And I'm so happy to hear that. I also would love to go out dancing with you one time.
Come to Guy and Omaya.
Sure.
I'm
live near.
plugging them. I love spaces where I can dance and I don't have pressure.
Yeah.
Like, don't touch me, don't bother me, just dance.
The right clubs provided a space, and there are wrong clubs. The right clubs allow people to dance, and no one really gives a shit how you're moving. They're yummy.
To be honest,
They're
the
very
assertion that I gave in the beginning of this pod, that I see no anger or hatred, dead on. I feel even stronger about it now that I've spoken to you.
Little, like sadness. Sometimes sadness.
Well, sadness is
Which
deserves to be
Which
felt.
is more than justified. in
More
this
than
case.
justified.
It comes at weird times. That's the weird thing about CPTSD. You could be driving and all of a sudden I'm like,
Bam.
or let's say even dating, like, you date someone, you each have your own life. And then let's say they don't text you back or you don't hear from them. And it's like, am I loved? Am I valuable? Am I whatever?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
it will still hit me to this very day when I know that I'm loved and I know that I'm valuable, you know?
course.
Leah, I'm going to let you go because I know you have to be somewhere.
Yeah.
Zach, any last words?
You should pretend you're important. Be like,
My-
we have to wrap up. We have other guests.
You're one
Let me
of
teach you
many.
how to market. You go like this. We're wrapping up this podcast because we have a full schedule.
No, it's the opposite for me. I know how to market. Everyone thinks I'm a cocky son of a bitch, so I have to actually be nice. You understand what I'm saying? It's the opposite. That's
How
my
are you
marketing.
friends with Yoel? He's such a modest,
Yoel is a tzaddik.
humble.
He's a tzaddik.
The last thing I did want to ask you is any comedians that you look up to that you that influence you or that you would love to plug, like tell people like, yeah, this person's amazing.
Well, I don't need to plug Modi because he's so great.
True,
But
yeah.
hands down, from everyone I've been with in the business, he is the most approachable, the most humble, the kindest.
Really?
That is beautiful.
And on stage, you wouldn't think so.
No, because he's very confident.
He's so daddy.
Yeah.
You know?
By the way, so many of my friends have crushes on him.
Yeah, he's daddy. But he's 100% like, he gives me feedback. He's a mensch. He's
That's
a
so
real
beautiful.
mensch. And people don't even know he's a great, he davens in my shul. He's a
No, I
great
did not know
Baltfila.
that.
Really?
He davens beautifully, has a stunning voice.
Wow.
So Modi would be my number one. I also love, I love so many good comedians that don't exist anymore. Rodney Dangerfield was like one of my favorite. Russell Peters, I love. Jessica Kirsten.
Shout out.
So like, some goodies.
That's amazing.
All right. Leah, one more time. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
I know you came from Brooklyn. It was a little bit of a schlep. It's a disgusting day out.
Schlep. I enjoyed it. Guys, I know you're going to listen to my podcast, but go to the other episodes. They're really good. Even just the title, labeled, Mamish so bashert. But we do live in a world where everyone needs to be boxed and labeled. And it's kind of nice to, have an hour to listen to a podcast where it's not about that.
Your podcast is audio? Ours. You're talking about ours.
I don't have a podcast.
I thought you just said go to your podcast.
No, go to the other podcasts.
Oh, that's your talking to your
Let me
audience.
ask you a question. Do you have ADD?
I don't know. You decide.
Like, are you diagnosed?
I don't think I'm diagnosed.
Okay, you have ADD. Okay.
There you go. I have a
On
lot
that
of other
note,
things.
have a great day.
Thank you guys.
Take your
Peace-
medication.
Peace out, everyone. Take care.
Hey,
Wow.
that was